The moment when it really gets real. They're in there. They're getting sealed up. We're gonna make a go of it today, as they say. Also, you know, like if SpaceX is doing new things or like slightly retro things, like remember when we used to call them space shots?
Yes.
Only the youngest one is nodding at me, which is hilarious. Okay, yes, there we go. That fell flat. Anyway, moving on.
No, I agreed. But Mike wasn't in the right position. I
Okay.
I do recall this.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
So roadblocks are down.
Dragon SpaceX, we are commencing health checks for the launch escape system. Expect a momentary flight computer change, followed by a transition back to pad hatch closed.
And copy that, SpaceX, standing by.
And what was that question, Matt?
So this is a question from Zaz, who asks, are the astronauts going to be performing any experiments during the 3 days in orbit? We know that this is a civilian flight, but do they have anything they're going to do while they're up there?
Yes, they do. They have numerous scientific experiments that they're going to be doing. One of them is a radiation experiment. Because they're going up to 575 kilometers, which is higher than any shuttle crew went, right? So not farther than the Apollo crews went, but higher than any shuttle crew or low Earth orbit mission has really gone in terms of like your apogee and your perigee are both at that point. There was a Gemini flight that went to like 1,200 kilometers by 280, but they never raised the perigee up. So they're going to be studying radiation at those higher altitudes. They're also going to be studying how fluid shifts in the body occur after liftoff and once you get into microgravity. And Chris Sembroski is also going to be doing an experiment where he's going to be monitoring his blood glucose levels. And this is an experiment that's largely designed to examine how diabetes, right, and people who have diabetes can also fly into space and what sort of effects microgravity could have on blood glucose distribution. So a lot of really good and cool experiments that are going up, and I do want to kind of hit a point here because I think one of the things that because hey, like we always see these things, right, where the cargo dragons launch and they're bringing up all the science equipment and the science goes up for months and months and months at a time, or some of it is like it goes up for the month and then it comes back on the same dragon. And I know a lot of people are going, well, how much could they actually do in the 3 days that are up there? But a lot of the experiments that we run on the International Space Station are very quick. They just have to all go up at the same time and then sort of wait their turn to be done. So the fact that it's only 3 days doesn't really have a major effect on the experiments in terms of what they're trying to show and what they're trying to gather data from. So just because it's ISS expeditions doesn't mean that like, oh, they can't get as much science from this experiment because it's on Dragon versus if they did it on the ISS. That's not actually true, because the experiments on ISS largely just end up having to wait their turn and wait for time on the rack and wait for power and wait for human time to do them. So in that regard, just as valuable for what they're doing today as what we do on board the International Space Station as well. ISS just on a much larger scale. Great question.
Well, Cormac had a little bit of concern for us, and this might be a good time to go ahead and introduce everybody once again so people know who they're listening to. At NASASpaceflight, how are you guys today? Chris, how are you?
Well, I am at my happiest place on Earth, watching 4 people on top of a rocket that's about to be fueled and go to space. So I am absolutely fantastic.
Thomas Burgart, how are you?
I'm doing great, Matt. Thanks. With the NASA spaceflight crew here at the Kennedy Space Center press site. And like Chris said, we're waiting for a human spaceflight mission to lift off, so it's a good day.
Julia Bergeron, how are you?
Why, hello again, Matt. I am wonderful. I am enjoying a lovely sandwich that Steve made for me and keeping an eye on the pad and well, enjoying time with you all.
Oh, Steve.
Jack Meyer, how you doing?
Doing good, and I'm doing especially good because we just hit $154,000 raised for Inspiration4 and St. Jude Children's Hospital. Just happy to be in the studio today. I may not be at the happiest place on Earth like Chris, but I'm happy to be here watching this historic moment in spaceflight. Let's keep pumping that number up, everybody. 155. Let's hit it. Let's hit it.
You hear that, everybody? Jack admitted that Kennedy Space Center is better than Vandenberg. You
I
all
did
heard
not.
it here first.
I absolutely
You all
did
heard
not.
it. We all heard it.
This is not true.
And I'll ask
But,
me, Matt Anderson, how are you doing? Oh, I'm doing fine. Thank you so much.
Matt, thank you for being there and hosting today's launch.
I appreciate
Yes,
that.
indeed.
Thank you.
I do want to do a brief spiel about what today's mission is all about. Like Jack mentioned, this is all about raising awareness and fundraising for St. Jude's Children's Hospital. This is the first all-private human spaceflight mission to orbit for astronauts who don't work for NASA, don't work for the ESA, don't work for Roscosmos. None of that. These are 4 private citizens going to orbit for a few days, and it's all about raising awareness for St. Jude's Hospital. All the donations that you see on this stream and many other streams are going straight towards St. Jude's. There's no YouTube cut or anything. So we do want to encourage everyone to donate to that cause. And of course, this mission really is all about, furthering space travel while also solving problems here on Earth. You can do both. That's really the message that this mission is all about. And so we want to spread that as best we can. This is also, of course, got implications for the future of spaceflight as far as sending people to settle on the moon and Mars, because a lot of the times those aren't going to involve government astronauts. So there's a step being made there as well. But a human spaceflight mission, it's launching on a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket and Crew Dragon spacecraft. This is Crew Dragon Resilience, making its second flight after the SpaceX Crew 1 mission, which was a NASA astronaut mission. Also launching on a reused Falcon 9 first stage, making its third flight, Booster 1062, which flew 2 GPS satellite missions prior to today. And it's launching from pad 39A at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. That's what you're looking at right now. You're looking at a live view from the NASA spaceflight camera here at the press site. And we're just under 1 hour and 45 minutes from the opening of the launch window, and everything appears to be on track. They just closed the hatch for Crew Dragon Resilience, and so we're getting ready to close out the pad.
Check.
Dragon has you loud and clear, GNC. How many?
GNC loud and clear. Stand by for comm check by propulsion.
And what you're hearing right now, comm checks
Dragon prop on countdown. Comm check.
between Dragon and the Falcon 9 launch team in firing room 4.
Prop, loud and clear. Godspeed. Have a good flight today. Stand by for comm check with the avionics engineer.
Dragon avionics on countdown 1. Comm check.
Dragon has you loud and clear, avionics, how many?
Avionics loud and clear. Stand by for the comm check by the ground segment engineer.
Say that again.
Dragon ground segment on countdown 1. Comm check.
Dragon has you loud and clear, ground segment, how many?
Ground segment loud and clear. Stand by for comm check by launch control.
Dragon launch control on countdown 1. Comm check.
Dragon has you loud and clear, launch control, how many?
Launch control loud and clear. Stand by for comm check by the chief engineer.
Dragon, chief engineer on countdown 1. Comm check.
Dragon has you loud and clear, first, how many?
Have you loud and clear. Have a great flight. This completes our comm check.
Comm checks complete on that one, and as you can see from the views there from a camera at 39A and now ours as well, for those of you who are really worried about the weather, I can say don't be. It's almost crystal clear skies here. A few little stray clouds in the area, but everything is pushing inland, and we've never had our major thunderstorms develop. Exactly, look at Fleet Cam right now. Fleet Cam courtesy of Rusty's in Port Canaveral there, but the NSF Fleet Cam, you can see absolutely gorgeous. I mean, Thomas, afternoon in summer, it doesn't get much better than this in Florida.
You're right. And so we're really looking out with the weather, and we're really glad that that's worked out so far. Again, just under 2 hours to launch. And while we're on Fleet Cam really quick, I do want to address the other side of the launch today. We talked about the launch site 39A. Julia, resident fleet expert, can you give us the rundown on the fleet operations for today's mission?
I sure can do that. So as we're looking at Fleet Cam, let's see, we have just read the instructions out at the landing zone, and it was accompanied by Finn Falgett, who did tow them out. And we also had the debut of the new multi-purpose ship, Doug. So Doug is one of 2 ships, Bob and Doug. Notice those names there, guys? So Bob and Doug are capable of towing and recovering fairings and doing crew support. So FleetCam gave us some views of what the crew boarding the drone ships looks like now. They basically get in a basket, and the basket gets taken over from Doug via the crane onto the deck of the drone ship, where they can either secure the deck, or after launch they can secure the booster when it becomes daylight again. So we're looking at a new evolution in how fleet operations are run. The other ships that are out right now, we do have Go Navigator posted in the Gulf, and we have Go Searcher, which is at Port Canaveral right now. They are both activated to be able to support this launch in case of an abort scenario. And then during orbit, it will be decided where the weather is best. We are kind of cheering to maybe have an East Coast recovery of this crew, but it could go back to the Gulf with Go Navigator. So we won't know that until they are in orbit and we are a little bit closer to determining what time splashdown will be.
Dragons. So reusability.
SpaceX, good side hatch leak check.
$159,000 raised so far. I'm just gonna keep plugging that number as it goes higher and higher. And again, YouTube is not taking any cut of this, nor are we. 160, woohoo! It's all going to St. Jude's. So if that was on your mind, rest assured, YouTube's not taking anything. It's all going straight to the kids. So just keep it up, everybody. I'm so heartened by seeing this number continually rise up. And it's not just our stream, it's all the streams that are set up in the same way to have the money go to Inspiration4 and St. Jude. So it's a team effort. We're all pulling this cart up the hill together.
Absolutely. Of course, the overarching goal is 200 million raised. And aside from that, Jared Isaacman, the commander of the mission and the one who bought the Crew Dragon seats and all of that, signed a check for 100 million all on his own. Again, that's before the 200 million fundraising goal, and they're working towards that. And of course, all of the fundraisers that are part of our stream and every other stream are going towards that 200 million goal. I'll set forth where we're in the upper hundreds of 100,000 mark. I want to set a goal of $250,000 before liftoff. Let's see if we can get there. Really excited with all of the numbers we're hearing right now, and keep it up. This is a great cause to be supporting, and again, a testament to solving problems on Earth while continuing to explore space.
We're at 161. Just talking about it right now, it's already gone up by 1,000. I think 250K is totally doable, and this is the SpaceX stream. This is probably EDA's stream. This is going to be all the different streams that are set up this way. So it's got to be doable. 162, just there, bam. So yes, let's do this, everybody. Good job.
We got more questions from chat if you guys are ready to answer.
Yeah.
We have a question from Ice Blue, who asks, why does it take so many ninjas? And I want to say because there's so many pirates, but the ninjas are the assistants out there. We're helping them all get all strapped in. How many were there?
Actually, I don't know what the number of ninjas there. I mean, I think the highest number I saw was 30 that I noticed. So maybe there's 30?
I think there was a 33 or something. I think they're in the 30s somewhere.
Okay.
But yeah, there's a lot of different responsibilities. There's ones in charge of the crew themselves, getting them strapped in and hooked up. There's closeout crew members dedicated to the spacecraft, closing the hatch and things like that. They kind of all have different sets of responsibilities. Mission photographer was one member of the closeout crew, so there's a few different jobs out there. So they're in the 30s or so.
Sam Brady in chat saying they saw 37. Yeah, so I'll
Yeah,
have to
there
go
you
back
go.
and review the footage and see what the highest number there is. That'd be a good question for like a press conference. It's like how many pad closeout crew are there actually? I wonder if
It's pad ninjas, Jack. It's pad ninjas.
All right, all right. Not everything needs a fun name, but all right, I'll do it.
All right, I've got a couple of questions in one here from Don Clayan from Deadfoot. What is the parking orbit altitude range? And, second part here, what would be the estimated orbital speed of the Dragon, considering it's going to be much higher than the ISS?
Orbital speed is not going to be that different between 400 and... It's a great question. Orbital velocity is not going to be that different between 415 and 575 kilometers. It'll probably be 7.8 kilometers per second is orbital velocity, roughly, in low Earth orbit, give or take a couple of numbers after that, which is very similar to the ISS. In terms of...
I should point out that there's also a misconception in that question. Higher orbital altitude is actually a lower orbital velocity. I know that sounds silly. You have to accelerate more to get there. But once you're in your orbit, you're actually traveling slower the higher you are. Weird thing, but if you think about it, basically gravity is pulling you down lower, therefore gravity has accelerated you more and you're at a higher free fall rate. Anyway, back to the question.
And then I believe the question was, what is the initial parking orbit they'll be inserted into? The initial parking orbit is roughly 210 kilometers circular, so that can either end up being like 205 by 215 to for circularize at 210. It's something like that usually how the Falcon 9 inserts Dragon into orbit, and that's just based on how the rocket can do it. The mass of everything in 200 kilometers is generally what you insert into and then raise your orbit up. Beyond that particular one, that's what they do for missions to the ISS, though.
Yeah, so I was going to ask Dragon has its own propulsion margins that they can work through to raise that orbit, do phasing maneuvers, whatever they need to do. Obviously, with no rendezvous today, there's no reason to do phasing maneuvers or anything like that, really, unless you're just lining up with your landing site. But as far as getting up to that higher altitude, you can actually see a graphic courtesy SpaceX right now that how high they're going, higher than the ISS, higher than Hubble. Are they eating into Dragon's margins to do that, or eating into Falcon 9's margins and actually inserting Dragon into a higher initial orbit when it separates?
So it's a good question. From the way I understand it, from the abort ascent profile, they basically insert into the same orbit to protect for abort, because even in those final few moments when you're like pushing the abort trajectory across the Atlantic Ocean to the western coast of Ireland, you still don't want to have a very steep reentry profile, which the higher you go, the more steeper your reentry is going to end up being. So I believe they still have to insert into the 210-ish kilometer circular orbit to begin with, and then go from there. Sort of like, Thomas, how even no matter where the shuttles went in the specific mission's orbit, they always inserted into a 66 by 256 kilometer orbit. For various reasons, but yeah, that's my understanding of it. But watch the altimeter, because who knows, SpaceX might not have told us some new feature of Falcon 9 when it's not an NASA crew flight. We'll see.
Quick little note here about St. Jude. There's a question, does St. Jude share research funding with other hospitals like Baptist Mayo? I'm not sure about their sharing funding. They do share lots of research, though. They're really at the front of developing lots of facilities internationally to try to assist developing nations, especially with trying to get their hospitals off the ground, with showing them new techniques, developing new ways of sharing information and research so that they can, if they find out something new, they can share all their data with a hospital across the world if they want to. They're extremely good about that. Let's see. Keith asks, in orbit or on orbit? Please discuss.
Oh man, I think it's
with orbit.
I've heard both, but I think it's in orbit. I think in orbit sounds more proper to me.
I think it's one of those things that comes down to preference. I don't know if there's a correct.
I think technically both are correct. I tend to go for in orbit, but you could be on orbit, because that's one of those things like it might be a difference between British and American English, because like in America we say we stand in line, but in the UK they say we stand on line. So it might just be a difference like that. I think both are technically correct, but I go with in.
I feel like I would go with in orbit as well, but I also kind of feel like if I was on a space station, I might say on orbit. I don't know, it's a stupid distinction to make maybe, but like short term in a capsule for a period of time, you're in orbit. When you're like living on the space station for a year, you're on orbit. But maybe that's just me being silly.
That's kind of
No,
like how
I don't
in
think so,
Texas
'cause
we say howdy, but in England they say, "Why are you talking to me?"
That's funny. No, Jack. As soon as you said that, as soon as I stopped talking, I realized like, oh wait, I do actually. There's a difference. I think when you talk about the capsule, like the physical thing is in orbit, but it's on orbit when you talk about the operations that they're going to be doing.
That makes sense.
I think the actual delineation between the two. If you say on orbit, you're referring to the activities that the crew are doing, but in orbit refers to the physical vehicle itself. At least that's what I'm going with. Don't at me.
Oh, that makes sense.
Actually, do add us. Keep adding us at NASASpaceflight to ask questions in chat, and we'll continue to answer them best we can. Sorry,
We have
continue.
so many ats right now. What's the estimated max speed, and what's the highest acceleration of G's they're going to experience?
So, generally speaking, now different mission profiles may vary slightly. Generally speaking, you set a max of either like 3 or 3.5 G's of acceleration is the maximum you tend to aim for. And again, so that's 3 and 3.5 times the normal acceleration due to gravity that you feel just walking around here on Earth. That is generally speaking what you aim for. And Chris G is signaling to me that it's 3.5. So there you go. And that is accomplished by throttling those engines. You'll actually see during the first stage flight, first, you'll have a throttle down period for max Q, maximum aerodynamic pressure. That's to control the loads that the vehicle itself is experiencing. Then there will also be throttling later in the flight, especially on that second stage as it gets lighter and lighter. Basically, as the stage burns all its fuel, there's less mass being accelerated, and thus you're actually accelerating harder. And towards the end of the second stage burn, the one engine on the upper stage will throttle down to limit the acceleration to do that 3.5 G mark. I believe the other question was maximum velocity. In that case, it should be whatever the orbital velocity is at insertion, which should be, like Chris said, about 7.8 kilometers per second-ish. Again, every flight profile varies ever so slightly, but that gives you an idea.
And that is the G-forces during liftoff. The G-forces during descent and reentry are actually higher in the Dragon. They're about 4.5, roughly. And Victor Glover, one of the astronauts on the Crew 1 mission, the pilot of the Crew 1 mission, actually talked about like how the seats orient them in Dragon when they're coming back in, so that the G-forces are distributed on them in ways where they're not being like compressed down by the spine; they're being sort of pushed back into their seats. And but it is more intense on the G-forces on reentry than it is during launch.
As someone who's always enjoyed the fleeting moments of positive and negative G's that you get like on a roller coaster, it's always just like a fraction of a second, you know, where it's like you press into your seat for a little bit and then it stops. I honestly can't imagine what it would be like to be re-entering and feel a sustained 4+ G's for however long that phase of flight lasts. I mean, there's a big difference between being on a roller coaster and feeling a little bit of G for a fraction of a second and feeling it sustained for a long period of time, either on launch or on entry. And oh, gosh, would I love to know what that feels like. And these four
You
are
and me
about
both,
to find
Jack.
out.
Yep.
Matter of time, Chris. Matter of time.
From your lips to whoever can pay for its ears.
Let's see, from Lost Astronaut, if you could choose between going on Virgin Galactic or Blue Origin for suborbital flight, which would you choose?
Virgin.
Blue Origin.
Chris? Julia?
A choice between those two, I would go with Blue Origin.
Oh, I guess I'm going on a launch with Chris because I would say Blue Origin as well.
Oh man, y'all are babies. Virgin
is
babies.
It may just be that they want to stay on their flight path.
I can tell you right now why my answer is Blue Origin. It's because Virgin Galactic needs to prove to me that they can stay within their flight path. They need to prove to me that they can obey the safety culture that they have instilled and abort when the vehicle tells you to abort, which, from what we know now, they did not do. So my answer is Blue Origin on that one until they can prove that they fixed it. Yeah.
All of that is logical and makes perfect sense and is a perfectly acceptable answer. However, what's more exciting, the thing that you know is going to go right or the thing that you are unsure if it's going to go right?
Wow,
I want
Jack.
to talk about it after I'm back, so the thing we know is going to go right.
I'm going a little bit daredevil on this one, but hey, if you're asking me Virgin versus Blue Origin, I'd probably rather go Virgin. But that's me. I'm just being stupid, I suppose.
But once they prove to me that they fixed it, Virgin. Yes, I'd go on both once
It's a
Virgin can prove
it's
to
a
me that they
hand-flown spacecraft. There's no other. There's just nothing else like it. Like it's a really unique and special thing, if you ask me. And as someone who's always been fascinated by flight and test flight and science fiction in general, like who doesn't want a spacecraft that's actually flown into space? That's just so awesome in sci-fi.
I would also caveat my answer saying that if I was only offered a ride on Spaceship 2, I would still say yes. So, you know, given the choice, sure, I might lean towards Blue Origin, but I wouldn't decline a ride on Spaceship 2. I think that's also a very cool system. But I also think that Crew Dragon and orbital spaceflight is even cooler than any of the things we were just talking about. And that's what I'm really excited about today, yeah.
Definitely.
NASA spaceflight. We'll take what we can get.
Yep. Basically, it's the difference, Thomas, in a lot of ways to me, of being on one of those zero gravity planes that like flies a parabolic arc type of trajectory and gives you like 30 seconds or a minute of weightlessness every few minutes, and actually being weightless and in orbit. I mean, the Virgin Galactic and Blue Origin, it's just a fleeting taste, right? Whereas when you're on orbit, you're on orbit. Maybe you're in orbit. Haha, callbacks. So yeah, this is the real deal here. What we're watching these people on screen get ready to do, and I can't help but notice that they keep like fist bumping and like just encouraging each other. I'm really enjoying watching their interactions here as they wait to launch into space in about hour and 24 minutes.
You got a good question about the setup that they have there. It takes so long for people to strap them in. Are they able to strap themselves in before re-entry?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, yeah, it's a lot easier to strap yourself in when you are in orbit than it is when you are under the force of gravity and kind of having to awkwardly position yourself in the vehicle. So yeah, they strap themselves back into the seats when they come home. Yeah, but they do need the assistance of getting everything ready when they're getting in the capsule, because it's just harder when you're in the bulky suits and under gravity.
He was just looking at dog pictures. I swear I saw a dog.
He's
What?
like playing.
Really?
He's playing Candy Crush or something, right? Like.
Literally just messaged from somebody asking, was he playing Angry Bird?
Hilarious.
I don't know.
That's what I would be doing right now. I'd be like, hey, Jack, checklist 24.2, and I'd be like, hey, but I'm about to power up.
Well, and here's one of those things that I find absolutely fascinating. I wonder if it's true on Dragons too for the two crew members who aren't the commander and the pilots on these flights. But there are stories from the shuttle era where, like, the astronauts who would be on the middeck, they literally had nothing to do after they got in the vehicle. They were literally just along for the ride, and they sometimes had to wake them up before liftoff because they would just fall asleep because there was nothing to do. So I'm kind of wondering, like, hey, the people who are in the mission specialist seats on Dragon, when they don't really have anything to do they doze off? Do they take a nap? Like, because you can totally do that on the launch pad if you want to.
Oh yeah.
I feel like we saw, it was Crew 1 or Crew 2, the mission specialists were like at least closing their eyes a little bit. I don't know if that was craziness, like we're about to launch into space, I'm going to close my eyes for a second, or I'm legitimately bored out of my mind and we got to sit here for 2 more hours before anything happens, or some combination of their. I think we might have seen that though before.
Question from Brylark. How long does it take to fuel the Falcon 9?
It takes exactly 33 minutes to fuel the Falcon 9. They start at T-minus 35 minutes. It completes at T-minus 2 minutes, and then they purge everything, and off they go. The procedure is called load and go, and it's really it's really sort of wrapped around the densified liquid oxygen that they use, where that has to be kept so cold, because the more dense you can make it, the more efficient you can make it, the more you can pack in, the more oomph you can get out of your engines. But in order to keep it as cold as they need it, they have to pump it in literally the last possible minutes that they have in the countdown. So that's why it's called load and go. Starts at 35, ends at 2, and off they go.
Let's see. Here's a fun one. Jack, webinar.
That was well before your time. Do you even know what you're doing?
I have no idea, but I'm all for it.
Cool, let's move on.
I know roast when I see one.
Let's not give them the satisfaction, and we'll just move on. Thank you for coming to my Ignore You webinar.
Matt, very well done. The rest of the NASA Spaceflight team here approves.
Yeah. Webinar, Malkovich. Why didn't Elon want to go?
Did Elon ever say he didn't want to go?
He has said that he wants to go, but he doesn't want to go on the first ones. So take that what it is. He's still got work to do, is what I kind of read into that. So he's not ready yet. But he says he will. He says he wants to. He just doesn't want to go now. Is basically the last thing that he said. It's Elon. His mind could have changed, but there you go.
It could be that he doesn't want it to be all about him, which is, I know, a little strange for a billionaire at this point.
Yep, but it's not about him.
It's about Inspiration4 and the St. Jude fundraiser that we're doing.
172,000. 172,000. Sorry, Chris, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, well, there's that. I mean, definitely there is that. But I think there's also an element of, like, he's got other things that he wants to accomplish right now. He doesn't gain anything from going. Kind of why take the seat from somebody else? You know, and orbital is different than a pop up and down suborbital flight. So, yeah.
Yeah, and between Tesla and making humanity multiplanetary, you know, getting Starship up and running, everything else that he's trying to do, I totally get it. He doesn't have time to devote to the training and, you know, the risk to his life and all of that. There's multiple different components there, but gosh, man, if I was him, I would really want to do whatever I could to get into space. It's almost like it's commendable that he's been able to resist the urge, I suppose. But yeah, 172,000 raised so far through the various streams that are doing this, and thank you everybody for chipping in. It's so awesome to see this number keep ticking up, and I just cannot reiterate enough how special St. Jude's is. And Matt, I had a little bit of follow-up. We were wondering if Hayley was actually treated by St. Jude, and she was. So she was a kid. She had a osteosarcoma on her knee, and was treated at St. Jude with chemotherapy, and now she works there helping kids. And now look, she's gonna go into space. So.
And making a little bit more history today as well. So part of the Inspiration4 historical run that this is, Hayley is going to become the youngest American to be in space and the first prosthesis to be in space that we know of.
Yeah,
yes,
it's really, really, really cool that this milestone is going to be made, and I really want to find out what the story is behind her call sign Nova. I wonder if that's come out yet, or if maybe that's in like the Netflix doc. They give their
Supernova.
Is that what it is? Supernova.
Supernova. And they called her Nova. Yep.
Nice. It's perfect.
And you know the best part though? The best part of this is that she gets to look at her patients, and she was in their shoes, and she gets to look at them and tell these stories, and those stories are going to have so much power for those kids to have somebody standing in front of them that has walked in their shoes. Tell them that anything is possible, and that is why I love her so much, because she really is a beautiful soul who just never saw this coming, right? It was actually her brother. Her brother works in the aerospace industry, so she kind of tagged along with her brother on field trips and family vacations, and it was kind of like, okay, yeah, cool, whatever, my brother's really into this. Well, then all of a sudden you get offered this moment of a lifetime, and to really embrace that and want to bring that back and help the kids that way, she had my heart, y'all.
Which, by the way, as a brother who is in aerospace engineering, if my sister got this opportunity, I guarantee she wouldn't she wouldn't have even thought about anything. She would have like, oh yeah, I'm going. She probably wouldn't have even told me. I would have found out via a SpaceX announcement. Sorry, Tori, for watching. How's it going?
No, it's good. Julia, to what you were saying too there, I kind of want to highlight something that Dr. Sian Proctor said yesterday, where we were talking about Hayley as being the youngest American and to go, and Sian said something very interesting to me yesterday, and that was as a woman in her 50s, there are a lot of times when you think as you age that you've passed the opportunity to do things, that your time to live your dreams and fulfill your dreams. Like, this is a fulfillment of a dream for her. She was one of the finalists for for NASA astronaut candidates.
Exactly.
A few years ago. But she talked about that, and she talked about, this, reinforcing for her that, just because you're in your 40s, just because you're in your 50s, just because you're in your 60s, absolutely does not mean you have missed your chance to follow your dream, even if that dream is to leave the planet and come back. Yeah.
Yeah. And I see this as a recurring theme in my life right now too, because I was doing a docent shift and I had a woman, and she's a retiree. She came in and she told me, we were talking about flying, and she said, yeah, I flew in today. And I kind of looked at her and like, huh? And she goes, yeah, I'm a pilot. I've been flying for a few years, but I didn't learn until I was in my 50s. So really, if you think this is something you want to do, and she was telling me all these places I can go to get the support, and then you add people like Poppy Northcutt into that, and all of the things she's accomplished during her early career with NASA, right? And the things she's still accomplishing now. So as a woman, I'd say this year really for me has been a trend in it's never too late. Follow that dream.
Let's see here. Ready for more chat questions?
We are. We're coming up on just over an hour left to launch, by the way, guys. In about 20, 30 minutes or so, we are going to start getting into the business end of this countdown. So we're going to keep taking questions in the meantime, though.
And the Chris G goosebump meter just went up. Like, we're at an 8. We're going toward a 10.
It's almost there. Does
I
it
don't
stop
know.
at 10 or does it go to 11?
It might go to 11. Just wait until he hears the rumble, and you guys, he'll lose it. He'll lose it.
It goes to 10, and then I just explode, and everyone's microphone throughout the press site will hear me. It doesn't matter. You will.
All right, stand by for Chris exploding. Biggin says NASA Spaceflight, we'll take what we can get. That's a T-shirt. We're always looking for good merchandising opportunities, so thank you very much for that. Kiki asks, is there any 3D printed parts on the rocket?
The
Dracos are 3D printed.
Exactly, yeah. I was going to say the thrust chambers for the Super Draco engines are 3D printed Inconel, I think?
I believe so, yes.
I'm not sure what else might have used additive manufacturing on it, but I know the Super Dracos. That's the one that I know.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but it wouldn't surprise me if quite a bit of it might actually be some maybe not 3D printing, but newer types of construction techniques.
We're at 175,000 raised so far across the various streams that are doing this fundraiser right now, and we have an hour and 12 minutes to go. I think your goal, Thomas, of 250,000. I think we're gonna smash that. I'm hoping we see some really
I hope we do too.
I'm hoping we see some really generous donations around liftoff. I mean, if I was going to donate, I mean, I might be waiting for liftoff. So hopefully we just see it go ham.
Yeah, every dollar is going to be one more foot that goes higher.
Exactly.
Maybe an inch. We'll see. We need that to go high.
Yeah, it's supposed to get into orbit. Come on, guys, to the moon.
We've had this question a few times now. Mr. Farston is going to be the one that I pick here. Hey, guys, quick question. How will they sleep?
Sleeping. Yes. So they basically sleep in sleeping bags because you don't need a bed. There's no gravity. You don't need to lie down. So you can basically just Velcro your sleeping bag to any available surface, and that becomes your bed. And you can Velcro that to the ceiling, to the floor, to the wall. And it just feels, from what astronauts said, sometimes the first night is a little disorienting, but they kind of liken it to like the first time you're sleeping in a new house or a new apartment or something like that, and you sleep, but you don't really sleep well. You wake up because you're still learning like all the quirks of what the sounds are during the night and everything like that. But other than that, some astronauts have actually said because there's no gravity, it's actually some of the most restful sleep they get, because there's no part of your body that's tense. It just totally relaxes in that environment. So that's how they sleep.
It's Ultima asks, at NASASpaceflight, predictions on the zero-G indicator. We know that they're often quite fun. The zero-G indicator, by the way, if you don't know, is often like a stuffed animal or something that they release to show that there's no gravity.
Hayley has it, and she's not telling what it is. I noticed Sian said yesterday, or Chris said yesterday, actually, that they were very much looking forward to reaching orbit when she will pull out the zero-G indicator. So I don't know. I don't really want to hazard a guess on that one because I have a feeling it's something very personal to her.
It's going to be a tin of pineapple to put on the pizza.
You can log right off once they launch.
Yeah. All right, Jack. Thank you for taking over hosting things for this stream. Matt, we'll talk to you next time. Actually, we won't.
It's valid. It's a valid flavor.
All right, fine.
All right.
There's a time and a place for pineapple pizza, and it's called college.
ZRBD says, do you guys still get nervous for these human flights? I do every time, and it's probably not healthy.
Yes.
Yep.
Butterflies. Absolute butterflies right now.
I don't think that will ever change.
I mean, eventually it'll change. Like, I don't get nervous when an airplane takes off anymore. It will eventually get there. It's gonna.
I do. Thomas, it's the most difficult phase of flight: takeoff and landing. You know this. Get nervous.
Yeah, but relatively. All right, if I was taking off from an aircraft carrier, maybe. If I'm on a commercial airline, I'm usually asleep by then.
Fair. You're a much more calm person than me, I suppose.
I also flew to how many spaceports in the past couple weeks? That, to be fair, biased a little there.
Yeah, fair.
I mean, I want the day that we do get there, right? That rocketry and traveling on rockets is like air travel. You know, I really am one of those people who is like, yes, bring it point to point, you know, with all the challenges that involves. But I'm with Thomas on this one. I usually have my nose in a book when we're taking off and landing. Like it doesn't bother me. I know what you mean, Jack. Like I know in my head those are the most dangerous times of a flight. I'm just calling it kind of also like, well, there's nothing I can do if something goes wrong. So
I'm looking out the window. I'm looking at the flaps. Like, okay, they're retracting. All right, good. Okay. There's the clunk. There's the clunk of the landing gear. All right, great. Okay, great. All right, we seem to be leveling off now. Okay, so, okay. Like I'm a ball of nerves every time, but maybe that's a me problem.
Got kind of a neat question here from El Pablo, who asks, how much stronger are you in space? And I'm going to add on here, we're going to assume in this situation, no exposure to gamma radiation.
Right. Okay, so space physics question. So on Earth, to lift something, you have to lift that mass against the acceleration due to gravity. In weightlessness, you're pushing that mass in whatever direction with no extra, you're basically without that acceleration. So, oh geez, I don't even.
The answer is, I think it's a paradox, because the answer is you can physically lift and move more than you could on Earth, but you actually technically get weaker in space because even though you keep exercising, your muscles keep atrophying.
Yeah.
Oh,
right. In weightlessness, it is very easy to, like, with one finger, push something. Like, because you're not fighting gravity, you're not fighting anything, you're just moving at something. But there's also the problem of, well, you start to get a little bit weaker when you're in space until you come back. So, right, two parts to that answer. Thank you, Chris.
Like when they just hand
catch 22.
It is, right? But I love it because when they're on spacewalks, like, and they just hand Thomas like a 5,000-pound cooling thing, and he's like, doo 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 doo, just like holding on to it with one hand on the end of the arm, like, yeah.
we were talking about the zero gravity indicator earlier. Their crew are bringing some things on board. I think Isaacman is bringing a dragon pendant. Chris is bringing some family heirloom pins. Hayley's bringing a photo of when she was 10 fighting bone cancer, and Proctor's bringing her dad's ring, who passed away when she was 19.
Yeah, and Cyan is also bringing a lot of art stuff with her and art supplies with her, and Sembroski's bringing his ukulele. Maybe we'll get somewhere over the rainbow, which, my gosh, they would be.
Wait. So Leo should paint Chris's ukulele, I think is what you're saying.
Exactly, yes.
Can they duel with Thomas Pesquet's banjo on the ISS? Can there be a thing there?
That would be awesome. Oh my god, yes. And I also didn't realize Thomas had a banjo, and now I like him even more.
I would love a banjo ukulele duel. Sepsi asks, how are y'all feeling so far?
So right now we're at T-minus 65 minutes, just over an hour from launch. Right now we're kind of in a waiting game. There's no fuel on board yet. The crew access arm is still attached. The hatch is closed, so that was a big thing. And we saw the crew drive out. Those were the two big moments that were like, yeah, this launch is a little bit different from all the other ones. I think the big moment is going to be when they do that go, no-go poll at T-minus 45 minutes, and they get to go to proceed. That's when the nerves are going to start really kicking in. Right now, we're kind of in that waiting phase, but we're getting real close, and it's getting exciting.
Yeah,
but how are you
echo
feeling,
that,
Thomas?
Right. Well, that's what I was going to say. I think Thomas hit the nail on the head for us. There is this weird lull you get into after the comm checks are done, where you are just kind of waiting. I think that's the feeling we all have right now. We're just kind of waiting for that next big thing for the anxiety and nerves to start again. Yeah.
I'm feeling waiting, Matt. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. My whole life. M. Bishop
But an
says,
absolute gorgeous sunset happening right now at the Kennedy Space Center. So, I mean, really great. Behind us, but you can also see the colors of the clouds behind Falcon 9 also starting to change as well as the sun goes down. So, yes, what's the question, Matt? Sorry.
well, very different from gorgeous colors. How is the solid waste handled during this type of flight?
'Tis stowed carefully.
'Tis stowed.
I think the larger question here is, how do they go to the bathroom up there, right? There are toilet facilities on board. It's not a private room like it was on the shuttle. It does just kind of pop out of the wall. There is a privacy or like a privacy curtain or like a modesty curtain or something like that they have. But that's that. And it's not like it is on Earth where you can rely on gravity to flush. There's suction involved. And there's a lot of care that goes into making sure that that suction goes the right direction and that everything is collected and stored properly.
And if you are on Earth in relationship to where they are sitting, it is in the ceiling, which, of course, when you are in space, won't matter.
This is one I can actually answer, and it is related to the previous question about how they go to the bathroom. And it is, how do you eat in space, asked by the council. Typically what you do is you lower your jaw, and it creates a space in the front of your face, and you insert the food into that. Then you close it, and you sort of grind your mandibles together until it becomes like a paste. At that point, the various muscles in your mouth can be used to move the food mass down your esophagus into your stomach where it becomes digested. It's a fascinating process.
It is, and that's basically it. Yeah. But it's not. Here's thankfully what it's not, Matt. The old tubes of toothpaste that some of the astronauts used to have to utilize in the earlier days of the space program before space food and ability to heat things on orbit and rehydrate things on orbit really improved the quality of the food that's available to astronauts now.
They're eating pizza this go around. That's why we were talking about pizza earlier. No, not
they
pineapple pizza, I was told.
Specifically, not pineapple pizza, but specifically cold pizza. Like Cyan's request was cold pizza. And I love her for that, because there's nothing better than cold pizza.
I mean, it's like Lunchables, right? That you're just sort of assembling the pieces.
And I'm immediately flashing back to being a kid and eating pizza Lunchables. Thanks.
Yes.
This may not sponsored by Lunchables.
Or Dunkaroos. Never happened.
Oh my God. Stop.
How many total hours of training was needed for Inspiration4? Do we know?
They spent. They didn't give the exact number yesterday. They said they spent thousands and thousands of hours in training. They did a full 30-hour sim where they got into a Dragon in Hawthorne, and they simulated launch, on orbit, sleeping, and reentry and coming home. One thing that was sort of really clear, or became clear yesterday, at least to me, Thomas, and I know the documentary on Netflix is doing a good job of highlighting highlighting all of the training that they actually did. But one thing that they said yesterday that really made me personally feel a lot better is that they did get the equivalent amount of training that NASA crews get to fly the Dragon. And one thing to remember when you hear like, oh, International Space Station astronauts train for 2 years for their mission, they're training for 2 years for a 6-month duration stay on board the International Space Station. It doesn't actually take 2 years to learn to fly the vehicles that get you there and get you back. That is typically about a 10 to 9 month-ish process to learn that element of flying. So pretty commensurate to what you would expect astronauts of this era to get.
And right on cue, we are about to hit on my mark 3, 2, 1 mark. T-minus 60 minutes and counting. We're coming up on the business end of the countdown, so a quick preview as we get closer here. At T-minus 45 minutes, the SpaceX launch teams are going to go with a go, no-go poll, which will basically provide a go or no-go for propellant loading operations, loading the fuels into Falcon 9. Assuming that is all go, at between that time and T-minus 38 minutes, the crew access arm will retract to the initial position, and then the launch escape system will be armed. At that point, the vehicle is ready to do a pad abort should anything go wrong, and they can move into propellant loading operations. And at T-minus 35 minutes, those operations begin, and we will start fueling this rocket for its on-time launch at 8:02 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 minutes after midnight UTC. Again, under 60 minutes to go to the opening of today's launch window, and everything is on track.
And worth noting, 8:02 p.m. tonight is a night launch for the Falcon 9 and for Inspiration4. So that will aid in visibility up the eastern seaboard of the United States. Will also, if you are in Florida, Georgia, or the Carolinas and Virginia, look the appropriate direction, because it means if the skies are clear, you'll be able to see the entry burn as the booster heads toward the drone ship. So lots that you could potentially see if you're on the coast tonight.
We've got
It'd be nice if they put out a visibility map. I haven't seen a visibility map, but yeah, just go outside and look up if you're on the eastern seaboard.
I've never actually seen SpaceX and NASA do a visibility map for the Falcon 9. Yeah.
It's a Wallops thing, I think, really.
We've got a couple of questions here that are related, so I'm just going to make it a two-parter. Exhale asks, do they monitor their vital signs through launch and reentry? And similarly, Harvinder Sunila asks, if there's a medical emergency requiring a return, how long will it take to get an astronaut back to Earth for treatment?
So to the second part of that question, if there were to be a medical emergency on orbit, they would come down basically as quickly as they could. The 7 location sites are off the coast of Florida, so basically that would give you an opportunity. It would give you 2 opportunities every 6 hours, because you would have one on the ascending node, and then 6 hours later you're on the descending node. But then you kind of have to wait 18 hours to come back into alignment with Florida. So they would have other options to go to. If it were also very serious, there might be things where they could do to get them down near countries that there are agreements with, that they could go out and get them potentially. But all efforts would be made to bring them back to Florida as quickly as possible in that regard.
All right. And
what is interesting is that if that were to happen on the International Space Station, there are actually reciprocal agreements between Russia and the United States where the vehicles can land either close to or in the other country if the medical emergency is serious enough, like that. So like if there was a massive medical emergency on the station and the quickest way they could get the Soyuz down was to land it in Arizona, they might actually take that and do it even though it's a Russian craft. But since it's not the station, it would come down as quickly as possible off the coast of Florida.
And are their vitals monitored throughout the launch? Or throughout the mission, really?
They used to monitor astronaut vitals during launch, but I honestly don't know if I don't think they do anymore. Or if they do, they don't tell us. I don't honestly remember the last time someone said they were being monitored during flight, but that doesn't mean they're not. I don't think they do that anymore, though.
Okay, here's a
But this is a private flight, so never say never. They might actually be monitoring for something in particular.
From Lost Astronaut, if you could bring one food or beverage to bring to space for your consumption, what would it be?
Pliny the Elder.
Oh,
Wait,
one
what?
food or beverage.
It's
Well, I
just
think
a beer.
that-
Go ahead,
Just
Julia.
a beer? Oh, okay. Well, I think that
I'd bring some IPA. Yeah, some IPA beer is what I'd bring.
Oh, I'm actually thinking cheesecake. I mean, I think y'all would think I'd say cookie, but cheesecake sounds perfect.
You mean cheese pie?
No, cheesecake.
Are we
It's-
really gonna have
it's
this
really-
debate right now?
It's really more of a pie, but I digress.
I mean,
Okay, how about I just bring a big tub of the pre-made whipped cream cheese that you can make a pie out of, and I'll just eat that. No pie.
Okay. Now the Golden Girls are going to have to get involved here because we're desecrating cheesecake. So Thomas, what's yours?
I mean, so I've been told that tortillas are pretty functional in space, no crumbs, et cetera, and I'm a pretty big fan of pretty much anything in a tortilla. So I think I just bring lots of taco stuff.
That's fair.
So practical. Matt, what would you bring?
Pineapple pizza.
Oh my God! Why'd I ask you?
Yeah.
Wrong answer.
I'd want to bring cheese fondue.
Cheese fondue. There we go.
Cheese fondue. I would want to eat
That's
like
gonna get
just
messy in microgravity.
exactly floating globules of cheese.
That's actually
That would be-
amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Like you
Well,
just
I
like
wanna
have a
see it.
sphere of cheese that you like push food items into. That's amazing. I love it. That's way
Wouldn't
better
it
than
just-
pineapple pizza.
But in microgravity, wouldn't it just round itself into a ball
Exactly.
like water does? Like,
Well, you'd want to
think- I
like
think
maybe
that, like-
disrupt the cheese somehow, so you get smaller splashes and little balls, spears.
it might like honestly be less messy than that corned beef sandwich they took up on one of the Mercury or Gemini flights. Like,
Address the mesh.
That's SpaceX gonna get in trouble because the next private crew is gonna use all of these food ideas, and the people who have to clean Dragon afterwards are gonna be real upset with us.
Who brought this cheese in here?
I already said it
terrible
once.
idea.
Let's get Matt some VC funding and let's do space fondue. Come on.
I mean, I will happily be the test subject for how fondue reacts in space. We have a question here from Camera Wainman, who asks, "How old do you need to be an astronaut?" Well, it's getting lower and lower.
right now, 18 years old to be able to consent for yourself, I believe, is in the new era is what it is. I'm not sure if they would let younger people fly with parental consent, but 18, when you're an adult and can consent to yourself, I think that's the age limit right now.
What about for NASA? If you wanted to go be a NASA astronaut, what is the youngest NASA astronaut that's been through?
I don't actually think NASA has a minimum age limit, but their requirements basically make it so you have to at least have a master's degree or be a test pilot with so many hours of flying time that you're basically gonna be in your 30s. But by the time you get picked to fly for NASA, but I don't actually believe they have a minimum beyond. I don't think they state a minimum in them. I think it's just the requirements is more what they look at.
John asks, "How would you heat up the fondue?" With a fondue pot, duh. Come on, John. It's not rocket science.
I'm thinking of like a series of hair dryers arranged in like a ring so that they like just swirl the. Anyways.
A series of hair dryers.
Yeah. Commercial off the shelf, Chris.
I love that.
Commercial off, please.
I brought 7 hair dryers so I could heat up my cheese.
Where would you plug those in on the Dragon, though?
So,
Extension cord,
Das?
power strip.
Just all the way
Sure.
down?
Yeah.
This is how we
I
make
think
space
we
elevators?
need Das to enter the chat and calm us down. Or wait, no, Das would be making your line drawing of this wonderful commercial of yours.
Yeah.
So sorry.
Where's the DOS art when you need it?
So we've been getting a lot of questions about where this launch will be visible from. And from Flight Club, I'm a patron of Flight Club, which is a fantastic resource. It's flightclub.io. It's a
Run
website.
by a fantastic person, by the way.
Yeah, friend of the channel, Declan. Thank you so much for making this amazing piece of software and website, Declan. Anyways, I'm a patron, so I have access to this thing, which is like a photographer's toolkit and whatnot. And part of that is this launch visibility map. So that is the approximate visibility of the of this launch tonight from various places. You can see it's concentric rings that show a time after launch at which you can expect it to be visible. So hopefully that is useful to you. I keep trying to eyeball this with Google Maps, and I'm like, what state is that up there at the top? Does anyone have a better? What is the upper boundary there? Is that like Delaware or?
Yeah, that's like Delaware, Maryland area.
Cool. So check that out, everybody. Thank you again to Declan Murphy and flightclub.io. If you want to learn more about that thing, that is flightclub.io. Super useful resource.
You know what, Jack? I think that's Declan's way of telling you that space knows no borders.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, can I toggle the thing where there's I can see states or something? But no, there are no borders in space. So yeah, good shout there, Julia.
We have a question coming in from the council who says, how often can you go to space? Which may be a discussion of how long can you stay in space too.
So the longest someone has stayed continuously in space was actually a Russian astronaut on the Mir space station. He stayed
Let's
for
meet
over
Chris,
a year.
the Inspiration4.
Step 56.80, the propellant load go, no-go poll is now open.
Okay.
And so really quick interjecting here, you are not going to hear the go, no-go poll, but it is now underway. SpaceX does it electronically over computers. There's no verbal callouts, but that is underway. And like we said, they need to have that poll done by about the T-minus 45-minute mark. So we're going to listen in and wait for that call out that it was complete and go to be given, at which point you will also hear a briefing from the launch director telling everyone basically the procedures in the event of an emergency in the Launch Control Center or a hold or anything like that. There's a big, long briefing. We'll listen in on that, and that'll be our cue that everything is go to proceed into propellant loading. So that's the call out you just heard.
And to the question, too, in terms of the number of times you can fly, Franklin Chang Diaz and Jerry Ross have each flown 7 individual missions. They both accomplished that on the shuttle. Russians stayed up there for over a year. We had the year in space missions earlier the previous decade. But it actually comes down to your radiation exposure and how your body actually reacts to the changes in microgravity. So basically, you can lifetime limit yourself with the amount of radiation that you can safely receive when you are in Earth orbit and not have massively added risks of, well, from what we're talking about today, cancer, and everything like that. That's really one of the limiting factors at this point is just how your body reacts, how you do as a crew member and how you do your job up there, and then the radiation exposure that you get when you're up there. Which they're studying radiation exposure on this mission since they're going up much higher than the International Space Station.
A question here from Aman Sidapara, who asks, how did these people get selected for this?
So Jared Isaacman is the one who sponsored the flight. So he was announced from the very beginning, along with Hayley Arceneaux, who, when he knew he was partnering with St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, he met her. So she was selected and did not win her seat. She was just she was chosen to go as a representative for St. Jude. Sian and Chris won it through the contests. So Sian won hers through the there was like the make a project thing, where you had to submit a project, and that's how she won her seat. And then Chris Sembroski won his, even though he applied and donated to St. Jude and applied through that way. He did not actually win it. His friend from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. Oh, well, yes, but it was someone. The story I heard was that it was someone from Embry-Riddle who won it and gave it to him. Thomas, did you hear differently?
I know his friend gave it to him. I know Chris himself is an Embry-Riddle alum, along with Jared Isaacman, so shout out to my two fellow Embry-Riddle people. But I don't know if his friend was or not. Maybe he was also, but I know Chris and Jared both are.
Well, great. Awesome. There you go. But Chris's friend actually won it and turned it down himself and gave it to Chris, because he knew it was Chris's lifelong dream to do it. So that's how they all got their seats. And you can see here as the sun sets, we are still under almost completely clear skies here at the Kennedy Space Center. In fact, directly over the launch site right now, there's just like really thin, wispy clouds, almost like a plane contrail went by, and it's still dispersing in the upper atmosphere. Gorgeous, gorgeous weather conditions here for liftoff. Everything's still tracking right on time. That fueling poll should actually be complete at this time. And having not heard anything, we'll stand by for the launch director's briefing here, which should be coming up momentarily before they pull the crew access arm away. But the crew access arm movement is the next thing to watch for. So definitely keep an eye out for that, because sometimes it does move before the T-minus 38-minute mark in the count. And also weather in our abort zones up the Atlantic and across the Atlantic near Ireland.
We're waiting for the launch director to give instructions to the team.
Complete, and the team is ready for crew access arm, propellant load, and launch. For non-urgent no-go conditions, brief the CE or LD, and they'll approve aborting the countdown. For urgent issues affecting the safety of the operation, operators shall call hold, hold, hold on the countdown net. Launch control will abort the launch auto sequence immediately and proceed into the launch abort sequence. At T-minus 10 seconds, launch control will be hands-off and relying on automated abort criteria for the remainder of the count. Operators advise the launch director whether structural breakup or fire is imminent or occurring per Dragon manual escape flight rules. In the event of a fire alarm, key operators will remain at their post while the alarm is evaluated. In the event that personnel safety is threatened, evacuate to the south-facing emergency exit, which leads directly outside. Launch control, you may proceed with arming the crew arm for movement.
There you've heard the instructions, and a great view from the camera on the fixed service structure looking down the crew arm.
And
there you heard it. The launch director gave his briefing, and we are go for propellant loading operations. So we're going to move into two steps. Right before that begins, the crew access arm is going to retract, and there it goes. Crew access arm retract is underway. The arm giving way for Dragon. And now the Crew Dragon spacecraft will move into arming its launch escape system, and that will be the final step before propellant loading operations is underway. We're now into the part of the countdown where we're reminded this is a different mission. This is a human spaceflight mission. There are people on board. Crew access arm and launch escape system are in work.
Indeed for that. And for just some contextualization for the call that you just heard from the launch director when he was referring to fire alarms and the need to evacuate, that is in reference to the launch control team, which is in firing room 1 of the Launch Control Center here at the Kennedy Space Center. So in the event that a fire alarm were to sound in the Launch Control Center, the first thing everyone does is remain at their consoles until they can confirm whether or not it would be a situation where they needed to evacuate, and then they would take appropriate measures. But that's what the fire alarm specifically was in reference to there today. And you can see the crew access arm is in its pre-launch pullback position. And as we mentioned a little bit earlier, for those of you who have joined us since, at liftoff, there are 3 big visuals that happen with a crew flight with the Falcon 9. The first is the obvious big ball of light as the vehicle starts to lift off the pad, since it is a night launch here. The second is the big transporter erector, the big white frame that is currently vertical with the rocket. That will perform a throwback maneuver to the 45-degree position at T0 when the rocket starts to lift off. And also at T0, when the rocket starts to lift off, the crew access arm will swing completely back out of the way to its launch position to help protect it as the vehicle lifts off the pad. But at T-minus 41 minutes and counting here, what other questions do we have before we get into the fuel loading side of and the real
brand new
business
suit
end of
up
our
room
countdown today?
located in the Falcon support building.
Crew access arm retraction complete.
Yeah, we only want to take a couple more questions. We're getting into the business end. Maybe we can do one more, Matt.
All right.
So the team suited up
Dragon
at...
SpaceX, you are go for section 7 of 4.100. Close visors and arm the launch escape system.
I like this one here.
SpaceX, we're go for section 7 of 4.100. We're closing visors and arming LES.
All right. From Brian Driesman, will this be the longest period of time a crew has spent in a Dragon capsule?
Yes, because I believe all the crew flights were a day to get up there and a day to get back. So at 3 days, that's the longest a crew would be in a Dragon capsule. Because the Crew 1 return got delayed because of weather, as did DM2 originally, but they just stayed docked to the station until it was clear to come back. So I believe it's been a day to get there and a day to get back on each of them. So 3 days would be it, yeah. Unless I'm really misremembering something, but Julia's nodding her head with me.
Yeah,
so
John, you mentioned the launch escape system. And
launch escape system is verified armed.
All right, well,
and
we
there
are
you go.
at T40 now, and 193 raised.
193,000. 40 minutes to go. I mean, let's see this. I can't wait to see this number just spike as we get closer and hit liftoff.
Before we get too deep into all the really interesting events that are going to happen as we get closer into the rocket launch, just a quick reminder as to purpose here. Inspiration4 is raising money for St. Jude's Children's Cancer Research Hospital. It's a charity that you can donate to down at the bottom of your screen right there below the chat box. There's a window that says Donate Now. St. Jude does research for lots of different children's illnesses in cancer. They have helped raise the survival rate of children's cancers by about 80%. Really, really huge over the last 40 or 60. No, I think it's like 60 years that they've been in operation, something like that. Incredible program, and they also do treatment there as well. So we would love if you consider either spreading the word or donating if you can.
Yeah, I can't echo that enough. Just cancer's the worst thing. It's literally the worst thing. So please donate, help the kids. Help St. Jude help the kids.
And for I'm sorry, go ahead, Jack.
Oh, I'm just thinking the sunset views that we've been getting are really nice. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, just for one final round of context here, since we are about 40 minutes out, and it's been about an hour and a half since we've done this before, go around and say whose voices you're hearing here on the NASASpaceflight stream. Chris, how are you?
I am doing just fine, Matt. My crew launch day nerves are where they're supposed to be for where we are in the countdown. So getting there.
That is Chris Gebhardt. Thomas Burghardt, how are you?
Come back to him, he says. Come back to him, he says.
Wait, nope, I got it. We're good. Sorry, my phone was having an issue. Hi, everybody. Thomas Burkhardt, also here at the press site for NASA Spaceflight. And yeah, I'm going to heavily concur with Chris. The nerves are starting to set in. Welcome to a human spaceflight launch day.
Also out in the field today, we have Julia Bergeron.
Hello, everybody. This is actually my very first on-site crew launch. So
yeah, we're having a little bit of problems hearing you. You sound auto-tuned, so we might need to come back to you.
Oh, interesting.
Anyway, Julia is fantastic, and she's out there. Jack Beyer, incredible photographer and host extraordinaire. How are you?
Good. Ready to see some people blast into space. How about that? It's Human Spaceflight Day, like Thomas said.
And I'm your other host out here. I'm Matt Anderson, also known as Bad News Baron. Very excited that you are all here today watching and supporting the Inspiration4 launch.
And you know what I'm also really excited about today? Because of the pandemic, this is the first time since July 8th of 2011 that I get to be standing here with my colleagues watching people leave from the Kennedy Space Center. I have not been able to do that for Demo 2, Crew 1, and Crew 2, and it's fantastic to be here with Thomas and Julia and Steven. I'm glad we finally get to share this together.
Likewise, Chris.
Much agreed.
195,000, and it's not only do you get to share it with everybody, the whole team there, you get to share it with Matt and I, and also everybody watching. It's really great, and we're up to 196. Look at that! It's amazing. Keep it coming, everybody. Keep doing your part.
Not Ryan Reynolds, stop it. I think we're going to crack 200 easily by T30, and maybe 250 by the time we launch.
250 would be amazing by launch. That's a really great goal.
So what's up next? What happens right after this? What's our closest?
Upload, right?
Yes, in 50. Yes, sorry, I forgot. I had to unmute myself. Yes, in about 44 seconds from now, we'll be propellant loading. So I'm gonna actually wait that 40 seconds because we will probably get some kind of a call out over the net right when it begins. But I do want to explain the propellant loading process because it is a little bit different in terms of how the stages are loaded from one another. But yeah, coming up here in about 26 seconds will be the start of fuel loading. So densified liquid oxygen and Rp1 kerosene will both flow simultaneously into stage 1, beginning at T-minus 35 seconds. Also at that point, Rp1 kerosene only will begin flowing into stage 2. Rp1 kerosene load will be completed at T-minus 22 minutes. They'll purge the transporter erector lines in the big T-minus 20-minute vent. And then at T-minus 16 minutes, they will load the densified liquid oxygen onto stage 2. And then all of the propellant closeouts are completed between the 3.5-minute and the 2-minute mark prior to liftoff. We've crossed that mark, so propellant loading is underway, and the auto sequence has also begun on the Falcon 9. So everything is choreographed. Teams are monitoring at this point, but basically at this point, it would be the auto sequence that would kick them out. Teams can manually abort if they need to, but the auto sequence would be what does it and what makes sure everything is happening in sequence. And then at the T-minus 1 minute mark, the auto sequence hands off to Falcon 9's onboard computers, and Falcon 9 actually assumes control of the countdown through that and then flight after liftoff. And SpaceX countdowns are very quiet, so the fact that we didn't hear anything at T-minus 35 on the net, but they just kept going, means that they started propellant loading.
How long will it take them to get into orbit? Once we have liftoff.
It is roughly an 8-minute, 45-second ascent for Falcon 9, and then they will be in orbit, in their initial parking orbit, and then they will coast together. The second stage and Dragon will actually coast together until about 11.5 or 12 to 12.5 minutes after liftoff, which is done to help the propellants that are left over in the second stage settle down so there are no weird oscillations, so that when Dragon is actually propelled off the top of the second stage, there's no accidental recontact between the trunk and the upper part of the second stage. So powered ascent is just under 9 minutes, and then they stay attached for another 2.5-ish minutes to let things, or 3.5-ish minutes to let things dampen out on orbit, and then they separate.
I believe we are just moments away from the big 200,000 raised here, just before T-minus 32. Just sort of waiting for that to tick over. I'm so excited.
That would definitely be, and I mean, an excitement galore. The press site is packed. So many people are here to watch them off. all the people who, a lot of the people who participated in the contests for Inspiration4 got invited to come out to witness the launch. A lot of people who participated in fundraisers are here as well, and getting some wonderful VIP and up close views of the Falcon 9. And I really hope that for everyone who's here and who is on base at either the Saturn V Center, the Turn Basin, or the press site here at Kennedy, really, if you by chance are listening to us, really take a moment to live this moment, because you are as close to one of these vehicles as you can ever get when they leave the ground.
Chris, I need to interrupt you for just a second. At T-minus 32, $200,000 raised for St. Jude. Incredible job, everyone.
Wow.
Absolutely fantastic. Fantastic.
And it's still just streaming in. I mean, it's already at 201,000. It's still going.
Good.
It's just rapid fire. I'm so pleased to see this going so fast. Every little bit helps. Again, every dollar is going to go to St. Jude. None of it gets taken by YouTube cut. So even if you can only do $1, that's fantastic. If you can't do anything at all, that's fine. Share the stream. Share the Inspiration4 website, or just share the St. Jude website directly with people that you know, and get the word out. That's one of the best things that you can do.
You know what? Little bit of huge update. I'm trying to keep myself together here. Sorry. I just logged into our YouTube page, and this whole time we've been saying that this $202,000 number that you're seeing at the top of the screen is a amalgamation of all the streams that are set up the same way right now. And so it's everybody pulling together for that 202,000 number. But I just logged into our page, and I poked around, you guys. Any guesses how much we've raised so far? Just our stream.
At least $50.
Oh.
Oh, I don't even want to guess, Jack.
Yes,
please. I wouldn't. 10?
60.
50,000.
$47,932.
Holy
oh my God.
moly!
You guys,
You guys are amazing.
I'm trying really hard not to cry right now, but thank you everybody so much.
Oh my God!
We have 25,000 viewers right now.
Well done.
And we have raised 47,000. I just refreshed it again. 48,214. I mean, it just keeps, it's skyrocketing. It's absolutely skyrocketing, and it's amazing.
We've got 29 minutes to get that to 50.
Thank you so much, everybody. Let's see how high we can make this number go.
You all are amazing. Amazing.
Wow. I'm speechless.
Julia's crying right now. She's robotic, but she's in tears right now. Thank you, all of you. I've never been prouder of our NSF community. Thank you.
Nope, not once. This is amazing.
Truly, thank you.
Earth's pretty good.
49,000. I'm just gonna keep watching this. This is amazing. Anyways, thank you.
And all of that is going to be
all
immensely helpful to everything that this mission is trying to do.
Exactly.
And I want to point out, I know dueling things that we're looking at. Here, you can actually see some vapor starting to form around the Falcon 9's first stage as the densified propellant is being loaded into it. All good indications that everything is proceeding nominally. There is about 6 minutes left in Rp1 Kerosene load to the second stage. And then at the T-minus 20 minute and 22 second, that's when it technically happens, mark, is when we will see a big vent from the transporter erector, big white billowy cloud. That's totally normal. It's purging the transporter erector and getting ready for like that switchover of how they're going to then go load all the propellants for the liquid oxygen into the second stage after that. But things continuing to tick away very, very nicely as we head toward an 8:02 and 56-second liftoff here for Inspiration4.
There's also a lot of vapor condensing around my eyes right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions, Matt? We can kind of take questions. Thomas, would you like to take questions until like 10 minutes?
Yeah, we can do a couple minutes here, sure.
Okay, all right. Let's go ahead and do that. Here's a little trivia bit for you. Matt Hollis asks, which astronaut is famous for having written his daughter's initials on the moon?
Oh, gosh, I don't know.
His daughter's initials. I know Neil Armstrong took something of one of his kids to the moon. Charlie Duke? Julia says Charlie Duke. That rings a bell for her. I don't actually know off the top of my head.
I should know this. I just listened to the Apollo book by, oh my god, I can't even remember his name. I just listened to like 36 hours of content. I should remember this.
I mean, what's so cool about that, though, is that those initials are still there. Like, that's the mind-blowing thing about it. Since there's no wind and no erosion, they're still there.
Brian Tweed asks, is there going to be a live press conference with the crew when in orbit?
It was Eugene Cernan. Sorry, Eugene Cernan was who did it.
When on orbit.
Eugene Cernan was the one who wrote his... Eugene Cernan, yep. Yeah, what was the other question there, Matt? Sorry.
Is there going to be a live press conference with the crew when on orbit?
Oh, gosh, yes. They've got some special things planned. There'll definitely be briefings and opportunities to talk to them while they're up, and media, or just not even media events, but maybe just like hello world events from them up there, most definitely.
Here's a just an easy one to hear from Matt Hollis. Does sound travel faster in space? The answer there is no, because there's no medium for it to travel through. You need something to conduct the sound in order for it to travel.
And speaking of sound and how long it travels, so we will see Falcon 9 lift off, and then about 7-8 seconds later is when the sound wave will actually hit us here at the press site from 5 kilometers away. So really cool to always see that in action.
And as a reminder, if you do have a whole bunch of just general SpaceX technical related questions, we do have a live stream that goes all the time, 24/7 here in the channel. And on Saturdays, we do NASASpaceflight Live, where you can tune in and ask all sorts of questions about all the different news events that have happened in the week. And we always dedicate a bit of time to that, to SpaceX and the other programs as well, to get your general Starship and Falcon questions out of the way.
$55,000.
There you go. What an incredible community this is.
Yeah, there's been lots of talk on our streams of breaking, quote unquote, breaking Jack with high dollar donations, or in previous cases, contributions to what we do. But this is truly, I have no words. I have no words. This is astounding. 56,251 now. I'm so floored that we were able to figure out what our specific contribution actually was. That kind of makes it even more fun.
Jack normally has a lot of words, so crush him, chat. Let's see. Do you know? How do you know the heading the vehicles will launch at?
Because we know the orbital inclination that they are going to. So based on your orbital inclination, that determines your azimuth or compass heading, the direction that you actually head out of Kennedy. So like if you were going into a 28.6 degree inclination orbit, which is the latitude here at the Kennedy Space Center, you would go on a 90 degree azimuth due east out of here. So for a 51.6 degree inclination, which is where they're going today, it is the ISS's inclination, but they're not going to the space station. It's like 43.9 degrees on the compass is the heading that you head out of here on to get into that particular inclination. So that's how you determine the heading. And the rockets kind of adjust their heading too as they're launching to maintain their proper alignment as they're to get into the exact inclination that they need to.
Thank you very much for the answer. Maria Elena asks, when they land, will they splash down, land on a boat, or land on land?
Yes, so Dragons have to land in the water. So they will land in one of 7 locations. There are 3 in the Atlantic Ocean: Cape Canaveral, Daytona Beach, and Jacksonville. I don't think that Thomas. I don't think you're muted.
Thomas.
Yeah, so Dragons have to land in the water. There are 3 locations off Florida, Cape Canaveral, Daytona, and Jacksonville. And then there are 4 out in the Gulf of Mexico where they can come down into. So far, the Dragons have only landed in the Gulf, but that's just been because weather in the Atlantic has not been acceptable at the end of their missions. But that's where they would come down and splash down at the end of their mission.
Let's see here. We've got a thank you from Lost Astronaut who says, thank you guys for this stream. Much love. Thank you for your work and dedication. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching and supporting the stream, and for the Inspiration4 support as well. And I can tell you that what we do is absolutely nothing compared to what the crews over at SpaceX and what the staff of St. Jude are doing right now. So that's really who I want to focus on there. We have a question here. The crew has their helmets shut now. What point did they do that? Are they locked in place and pressurized, or is it in the capsule, or both? It's a question about when the helm is actually put into position and closed.
Gotcha. So that was right after the go for propellant loading poll was completed at the T-minus 45 minute mark. They asked the crew to lower their visors, lock their visors in preparation for activation of the launch escape system. So that is when they that is when they close and lock their visors. And if you are a fan of the shuttle program, that would be close and lock your visors and initiate O2 flow is what you were used to hearing. But that's what that's the timeline that it takes place on the Falcon.
You said shuttle. Everybody donate $1. Speaking of, we're at 58,892. We're coming up on 60,000 just from our stream alone, and it's a whopping, eye-popping 236,000 total across the SpaceX stream and ours and the others that are doing this fundraiser. But just from us so far, I think did we just break?
Did we just break another one?
Yeah, we broke 59, so we're rapidly approaching 60,000, which is just eye-popping, y'all.
Yes.
I cannot express the insanity with which you all are participating in this. Thank you.
Every dollar is fuel for the SpaceX rocket, or the NASA spaceflight rocket.
Yes, indeed. And man, breaking 59K for St. Jude right as the T-minus 20-minute vent began, which is our signal from the Falcon 9 that all is well.
And we broke 60.
And we broke 60. But yeah, this vent that you are seeing right now on the Falcon 9 means that Falcon 9 is happy and healthy and is a nice little good rocket sitting on our pad right now. So all continuing to look really, really good. And my gosh, breaking 60K.
250K raised total. You can tell Thomas he met his goal.
Fantastic.
We've met his goal.
You met your goal. Over $250,000 total. 60 of that is us.
Now, when this thing launches, that's when things are going to go rapid fire.
Yes, I want to see this thing pop at launch, you guys. I'm going to be refreshing it at launch, just clicking refresh.
How many in chat are holding off on their donation until we get to T0?
Yeah, I would be curious to know. I hope a good chunk of people are waiting until T0, and I hope we see a really healthy spike there. I'm so proud of y'all. I'm so proud of all of our viewers. $60,000. Way to go, everybody. Keep it up.
My goodness. And at 18.5 minutes and counting, things continuing to look very good here for the Falcon 9. Matt, any other questions that we could do here until probably like for the next 8 minutes or so?
Sure. We have a question here from Logan and Keller who asks, what is Rp1 kerosene?
That is a great question. So it is so Rp1 is basically just rocket grade kerosene. So kerosene, like kerosene fuel, but just made for rockets instead. And the RP is actually the Russian designation for kerosene. So RP1, that's what we use for that.
Okay. Another quick question from Matt Hollis, who asks, do software engineering teams of Falcon and Dragon play any role on the actual launch day?
Can you repeat that? I think I caught it.
Sure. Do the software engineering teams of Falcon and Dragon play any role on the launch day?
So they'll be monitoring, and if there are any hiccups, yeah, they would be looking for any real-time things that might be going on. So yeah, they do have roles on launch day and throughout the mission. Most certainly, yes.
Did we miss the T-minus 20-minute vent?
It
We
happened.
didn't.
It's happening right now, Jack. Actually.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it happened right when we were breaking 59 and 56K.
Got it. 62 right now. 62,000.
Fantastic.
Holy cow, you guys.
I mean, just thank you all. I truly have never been prouder of our community.
Me either.
And we have a wonderful rocket on the pad and a wonderful mission ahead of us. Matt, what are some other questions we've got from folks here as we continue to head into the business end of the countdown now?
We've got one that I can actually answer. The dummy can answer one. Has the spacecraft flown before? And the answer is yes, sort of, no. Both pieces. So the capsule and the booster are both flown before, but they have not flown together, and the capsule is not flown in this configuration. So it's old and new.
And the second stage is brand new, as all of the second stages on the Falcon 9s are.
It's a mishmash.
It is, yes.
What is the flight duration from Jeb Kerman? Jeb, big fan of your work.
Oh, Jeb, hello. I actually just flew a mission with you the other day. Anyway, KSB joke. Anyway, moving on. 3 days is the planned mission duration, approximately 3 days. But at this point, we do not have the specific day and time of splashdown. That will be determined after they're in orbit.
Let's see. From Linux user, will SpaceX ever do a crewed polar orbit? I don't know that there's really much need for that, is there?
Well, on these private missions like this, if you're not rendezvousing with the station, you could theoretically do a human polar orbit mission. One of the biggest hurdles that it would be moving and repositioning a lot of the recovery assets in case there is an abort. I have a very strong sneaking suspicion that the reason we're going into a 51.6 degree inclination orbit today is because they can utilize all of the same downrange abort recovery forces that they do for the NASA missions, which would already be positioned more or less where they need to be. But in terms of precluding it, I can't think of a thing that would preclude a human polar mission from happening aside from just having your recovery forces ready for it.
And we have kind of a fun question here that can be opened a little bit to interpretation. Oh man, here it is. From June Johnson. What force do you need to break through the atmosphere?
What force do you need to break through the
atmosphere?
atmosphere?
Yeah, and I would assume that would mean what delta V would you need to get through the lower parts of the atmosphere and be considered to be in space? I know that you could say that nobody has actually ever left the atmosphere fully.
How much delta V do you need to get? Okay, well, that's going to be slightly different for each rocket, and it's going to be different for each mission, because your delta V is like there's a certain your delta V is your velocity change, right? So like you need a velocity change of 7.8 kilometers per second to get into low Earth orbit. How much of that is accomplished during or by the booster that hauls you out of the dense lower atmosphere is actually pretty dependent on each individual rocket, in terms of how much delta V the first versus the second stages have with one another. So it's kind of dependent on the rocket. And then of course, there's that really tricky to get into space. Well, is that 80 kilometers or is that 100 kilometers? Because that's a bit different, but it's kind of mission dependent, but you need a delta V of 7.8 kilometers per second to get into low Earth orbit.
And just worth pointing out, we have a whole bunch of people watching from a whole bunch of different backgrounds, and it is probably worth saying that the atmosphere you don't really break through at any point. It just sort of gets thinner and thinner and thinner as it stretches out. And my little kind of comment joke earlier is one of my favorite fun facts is actually the geocorona extends out past the moon of the Earth. So
yes,
you could say that no human has ever really left Earth's atmosphere yet.
That you could in some way definitely say that. Yeah, I kind of like that, and to sort of bring that home into a way that might make a little bit more sense or help people contextualize what we mean by that. So your atmospheric drag, right? Because you never really get out of the atmosphere, you just get out of the discernible atmosphere, basically. But at 200 kilometers, where this will first go into tonight. If you don't raise your orbit, if you don't have any means of like continuing to reboost yourself, at 200 kilometers, you're coming back in within about 2 weeks. At the orbit of the International Space Station at 415 kilometers, you're coming back in within like a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years. The Hubble telescope at 540 is on a decades-long time scale, and 575, where they're going, would be even longer than Hubble. So like the farther up you go, the more time it takes for the atmosphere to slow you down and drag you back down toward the planet. And the closer you are, the lower your orbit, the more atmospheric drag you have, so the quicker that happens. And that's why periodically we need to reboost the International Space Station, and that's why the shuttle flights to Hubble boosted its orbit as well, to keep it in that stable operational altitude. So hopefully that sort of helps you visualize, like as you go further out, you never really get out of the atmosphere, like you were saying, Matt. It just gets thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner the farther away you go.
And I think here's probably a good question, because we're coming up on T12 here, to sort of finish this off for the day. Mike Hennigar asks, what do you think would be going through your head if you were sitting in the rocket right now? Chris?
I would be, if I was not in the commander or pilot seat, I would just be going like, I can't believe I'm here. I can't believe I'm here. I can't believe I'm here. That's basically what I would be doing right now. And just hoping for no technical issue in the final few minutes. Because, that's a ride of a life that they're about to take.
What about you, Jack?
65. Sorry, I'm $6,500 or $65,000 now raised from everybody. 263,000 total. I'm just flabbergasted. What was the question? I can't even focus.
What would be going through your head if you were sitting on the rocket right now? And I think the answer is that you're just blown away. Even on the rocket, you'd probably be blown away by the fundraising amount.
Yep. I'd brain mush, whether I was on a rocket or whether I'm looking at this number right now from everybody. So thank you everybody for doing your part. Maybe I would just be like humming the waiting game song or whatever. It's like, what's the song that Homer like hums to his head when he's like waiting in his car? It's like Little Spanish Flea or something like that. Yeah, that's what I would just be humming a tune in my head. Nice and calm. Definitely not super anxious. Definitely not slightly freaking out about going into space.
And we are approaching the 10-minute mark in the countdown. So we are definitely at the business end of this countdown. So let's...
Dragon SpaceX, confirm crew displays are configured for launch.
SpaceX Dragon, our displays are configured for launch.
Copy that, Dragon. And it has been an absolute honor to prepare you for this historic flight. Today, you are truly inspiring the world. We wish you a great mission, good luck, Godspeed, and enjoy the ride.
And some words between the crew and mission control. Another tradition kept for this mission and this new era. But in the business end of our countdown, let's talk about what happens in the next 9 minutes. So at the T-minus 7-minute mark, we will have engine chill down. So this is when some of the densified liquid oxygen that's already been pumped into stage 1 will be allowed to trickle down into the 9 Merlin 1D engines to start thermally conditioning them for liftoff, because right now they're the temperature of they're not at cryogenic temperatures. They need to be slowly brought down to cryogenic temperatures to prepare them for ignition, because you don't want to take them from like a pseudo ambient temperature to negative, hundreds of degrees Fahrenheit and centigrade in an instant. So we bleed a little bit of propellant into those engines to thermally condition them. That starts at T-minus 7 minutes. From about the 5.5-minute mark to 2.5-minute mark, you'll hear various closeouts. You'll hear RP1 locks and RP1 closeouts. I said RP1 twice. You'll hear RP1 and locks closeouts on both of the 2 stages being confirmed in that time frame. About 4.5 minutes prior to liftoff, the transporter erector, which is the big white strong back that's still bracing the rocket right now, will pull back from 90 degrees to 88.5 degrees. Then at T-minus 1 minute, the Falcon 9 will take control of its countdown in what is known as Falcon 9 is in startup. The Falcon 9 will also then pressurize its propellant tanks to flight levels in preparation for liftoff. And then at T-minus 45 seconds, we will get the final go for launch call from the launch director here in the firing room at the Kennedy Space Center. And all of that will lead to the commands to be sent to light the 9 Merlin 1D engines in sequence, starting at the T-minus 3 second mark. The engines will ramp up to full thrust very quickly. And after about a second of health checks, and if everything is fine at T0, the vehicle will be released from the pad, and up they will go to start their mission. So that's what we have to look forward to in the next 7 minutes, as well as some other call-outs from the launch team.
And I think we'd be remiss at this point not to just do a quick little ask. If you have enjoyed the last few hours of sitting around waiting for this thing to go, answering questions, all the content that we provide, feel free to follow the channel and come back anytime you'd like. We've got 24/7 streams going all the time, and a weekly question and answer show that goes on every Saturday, as well as coverage of as many live launches as we can possibly get to. So we'd love to have you back.
68,000. I have no words. I have no words. $68,000, you all. I let's go to space. Let's go to space with
those
Inspiration4
big numbers,
and send this thing to the moon as we get closer and closer to launch. Just 6.5 minutes to go. Oh my gosh.
I can't even count that high.
I don't have enough fingers and toes.
No. I tried counting on Jack's toes too, but you know, he thought it was weird, so I kind of stopped counting at 16.
Which was nice. I was glad you stopped.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. We're gonna need a bigger abacus.
A bigger abacus, I love it. And we have crossed the 6-minute mark here. Next major event is the partial retract of the Strongback, up here in a couple of minutes. You can see all those vapors flowing from the Falcon 9. A nice wind out of the south tonight here.
It really wasn't looking like this before. The more money we raise, the more of an epic skin it unlocks for the rocket, and it just gets more and more impressive to look at.
Indeed it does. Indeed it does. So just a reminder for those of you joining us as we approach the 5-minute mark in the count, liftoff is timed for 8:02 and 56 seconds Eastern Standard Time, or Eastern Daylight Time, 2 minutes 56 seconds after midnight UTC. They are headed northeast out of the Kennedy Space Center up the coast of the U.S. into a 51.6 degree inclination orbit. They will go to a finalized orbit of 575 kilometers, the highest that a U.S. crew has gone in low Earth orbit in terms of like the apogee and the perigee both being 575. There was a Gemini flight that went farther, but its perigee was a bit closer. Definitely higher than Hubble and definitely higher than any of the shuttle missions went. So some good scientific experiments on board, also studying the effects of radiation at that altitude on the human body and on human spaceflight.
I know we've had a couple of civilian launches this year, but this one is just absolutely historic. We're 4 minutes away. What are you thinking, Chris?
My standard launch day nerves are here. At this point, for me, it's the same as if any other 4 people were in that capsule. We wish Jared, Sian, Chris, Hayley, I know you're not listening to us, but have the time of your life, do amazing science and amazing work up there for us. Have the trip of your life, and we will see you all back here in 3 days. Good luck. And my word, are we all rooting for you on this
Retraction.
one.
There we go.
Will do.
69,000. $69,000 with 3 minutes to go. I want to see this number pop, y'all.
That
Right at
thing's moving
liftoff.
back.
2.5 minutes to go. Fuel loading is closing out at this point, and the transporter erector and the ground support equipment at Pad A are being purged and inerted to prepare them for liftoff at this time. Next major milestone at this point is coming up at the T-minus 1 minute mark in the countdown, when the Falcon 9 will take control of the countdown in what is known as startup and will pressurize its propellant tanks for liftoff.
71,000.
Godspeed to the crew, indeed. Good luck. We're all counting on you.
Oh, I was going to do that. Darn it. I just want to say good luck. We're all counting on you.
Crossing the 90-second mark now. All systems still good aboard the Falcon 9 and the Crew Dragon. Resilience making its second trip to space today, and the booster, the first stage booster, making its third launch and its first crew mission. Under the minute mark now, Falcon 9 has control of the countdown. The tanks are pressing for flight at this time. And we have crossed the 30-second mark until liftoff. Standing by now for the command to light the Merlin 1D engines at Team by liftoff. And here we go in the final 10 seconds of the countdown for Inspiration4. We have Merlin engine ignition and liftoff of the Falcon 9 with Inspiration4. Go, everyone! Woohoo!
That is beautiful. Starting to get that nice audio coming through, too.
Absolutely epic start to the launch for Inspiration4, right on time. Wow, you could feel that here on the ground. Absolutely epic as first stage flight continues here.
Just a gorgeous trail. Of course, as the atmosphere gets thinner, those flames spread out more and more.
They are breaking into daylight now in the contrail from our viewpoint here. All right, and coming up, you will see momentarily the shutdown of the first stage, and we have seen from the ground the ignition of the second.
Wow, we're getting the jellyfish.
It's doing the jellyfish. It is doing the jellyfish in the night sky.
There you go.
Look at that.
Never to miss a good PR move.
Oh my gosh, the Falcon 9 is doing the jellyfish in the evening sky. We can clearly see the first and second stages. Thomas with a great track there for us. Absolutely incredible. I have never seen this jellyfish at night here in Florida in the evening. Absolutely incredible. Performance is right on target so far for the stages. You can see the cold gas thrusters firing. Oh my gosh, look at those firings of the first stage booster as it's reorienting itself. Oh my gosh.
Just reminded of that mote in a sunbeam line.
This is incredible. Excellent tracking shot, Thomas. Excellent tracking shot. You can see now there the second stage continuing on its way to orbit. The first stage still pulsing those cold gas thrusters in the upper atmosphere. What an incredible light display that is going on here right now for the launch.
Inspiration4 certainly living up to its name yet again.
And Thomas is currently following stage 1 right now. So you are watching stage 1 on the right with our camera, and you are watching stage 2 on the left with the SpaceX camera. Thomas is going to follow that first stage, because what we know is that if it doesn't go behind a cloud, we will be able to see that entry burn, or should be able to see that entry burn of that stage. But my gosh, the arrow-like contrail that the second stage is leaving in the atmosphere is absolutely incredible. Of course, everything's still going to plan on the actual mission itself as the second stage continues to power Sian, Chris, Jared, and Hayley onto Earth orbit.
Thomas, this is an absolutely amazing job. Don't say anything. Don't talk to me. Don't even think about what I'm saying. Just keep doing exactly what you're doing. Seeing these cold gas thrusters pulse from the perspective of someone on the ground in Kennedy Space Center is absolutely beautiful. I'm so thankful that I get to see this view, because as you can see, while SpaceX on the left side of the screen there is bringing us some amazing views, it's sort of perspective of the rocket. And looking at this through your camera there, Thomas, is exactly what you would be seeing if you were on the ground, right? And it's beautiful. This effect is beautiful, and I hope everybody up and down the coast that is in the cone of visibility for this launch is just dazzled right now and inspired. And I hope this really raises the awareness for everybody of the
This truly
mission.
is just some of the most beautiful launch footage I've ever seen. That is otherworldly.
And I mean, Jack, we talked about it earlier on the stream, and like, would it do the jellyfish? Would it not? I've never seen it do the jellyfish in the evening here in Florida. That was amazing to see.
Hey man, they timed the launch exactly perfectly. I think it's safe to say that. I don't know if they intentionally went for jellyfish, but sure, I would believe it if you told me they did. That was excellent. That was absolutely excellent. Guess what our number is right now post launch of what we have as a NASA spaceflight community contributed to St. Jude.
Where are we at?
Have we gotten to 70?
Yes.
80.
We are at $79,324.
Oh my God.
We're just about to hit 80, so let's push us over the top, guys. Thank you so much, everybody, for your generosity. That is an absolutely mind-bending number as the Inspiration4 continues to climb into orbit.
And as they continue to climb into orbit, the first stage is falling back to Earth and is about to do its entry burn. So the entry burn is a 3-engine firing of 3 of the Merlin engines on the base of the Falcon 9's first stage that serves to both slow it down as it re-enters the atmosphere and limit the heating that it undergoes as it comes back in and down towards the drone ship. Just read the instructions, which is stationed about 600-ish kilometers north of here. And there's the entry burn. We see it very clearly. Right now, we do see it very clearly, the entry burn underway And dropping downward for the horizon. There you see it on Thomas. Thomas has the track of it. Wonderful track. Wonderful track. That was the entry burn from hundreds of kilometers downrange. Seeing that entry burn as it heads toward the drone ship, absolutely incredible. And you can see, and now you can see the SpaceX footage of that. And you can see the second stage continuing onward to orbit now. Very, very close to orbital insertion there. We're crossing 20,000 kilometers per hour. We're aiming for about 28,000 kilometers per hour is the velocity target there, roughly. Look at the glow of that first stage, of that second stage engine there. And the first stage will be landing here shortly on just to read the instructions, and we should be able to see that too.
We've been getting intermittent onboard views during launch, and it's just exactly what everything I hoped for. It's so cool to see those onboard views, and they're giving like thumbs up. It looks like they're just hanging out, like in the back of a car on their way to the mall. It's obviously way more involved than that, but all appearances that this is a lovely ride for them.
It is. I'll never forget what Bob and Doug said after Demo 2's launch, where they kind of both had to look at each other and go, did we lift off? Like, it was that smooth, they said. Incredible. Approaching engine cutoff. There it is. Engine cutoff on stage 2. Velocity targets look about right from that at 27,300. You can see the crew inside. Experience all 4 of them experiencing weightlessness for the first time. The sensation of weightlessness for the first time in orbit. Oh.
Where's the indicator? Is that the indicator right there?
So far,
we see it over on the
booster
right.
Coming down. There's the drone ship. There's the drone ship. And we have...
A few have come before and many are about to follow. The door's opening now. It's pretty incredible.
Saying something about the door opening and it's really incredible.
Yeah, the door to access to space and having this be a thing that everybody can do.
The International Space Station's going overhead.
The
ISS is going overhead. Oh my God.
Nice. They're in space.
There it goes. There goes the ISS. And Inspiration4 is in space. Oh.
You can see the 0G indicator. Do we know what that is?
Dragon. Fantastic visual. Oh, did she pull it out?
Yeah,
Did
she's got it out.
Yeah.
She's bouncing it around. It looks like a little lamb or a sheep or something.
Aww. Kind of does, doesn't it? All right, so what we are standing by now, you can see the next major event on here is spacecraft separation. Now, a question that's probably arising is why do they wait so long after the second stage shuts off its engines and they're actually in a safe and stable orbit before they separate? And the reason for that is because there's still some propellant left over in the second stage after they reach orbit. So they like to let that propellant settle down so it's not sloshing around in the tanks. So that way there's no accidental recontact with Dragon's trunk upon separation. So that's why they wait a little bit longer than we're normally used to seeing once the propulsive phase of ascent is completed. And man, the visual here from the Kennedy Space Center is the ISS just gets smaller and smaller on the horizon. What an incredible coincidence for the ISS, for the launch to have gone right when it did and the ISS to come over 9 minutes later. Incredible. Standing by now for Dragon separation.
Truly been the most incredible launch I've ever seen. Just amazing. I mean, super quiet because I'm honestly I'm speechless. This entire thing has been gorgeous. It's been affirming to see chat donate so much.
They are now in orbit around Earth, and there you can see on your screen Dragon separation confirmed. So that is the Dragon trunk and Dragon
on behalf of the Falcon 9 team.
We gave you a great ride to orbit. Enjoy your time on orbit, and we look forward to you flying again with SpaceX.
Wow. Every aspect.
And copy that, Garrus. We really appreciate everyone's help back in LCC.
You know what? I did not expect Dragon spacecraft separation to get me. That was cool. Oh, Julia, that's fantastic. Julia's showing me one of the photos she got.
Post it.
Wonderful.
Post it, Julia,
she's
post
trying. Oh my gosh. 13 minutes after a successful liftoff of the first all-private astronaut mission in history, the first human orbital space launch from the U.S. that NASA was
that
not
we
involved in.
are anticipating is the opening.
Dragon SpaceX, nominal dehumidifier activation and service section Draco checkouts.
We're going to open up that nose cone.
There we show you.
They're going to open up the nose cone soon. Yep. But 13 and a half minutes after a successful liftoff here, just absolutely incredible. 4 regular people like us are in space. That's amazing. That's amazing.
The youngest American in space. Now
the youngest American to reach space. This second youngest person in history to reach orbit as well. Incredible at 29. What an incredible accomplishment for her and for all of them, no matter how old they are. What a dream come true for them in this moment. And you can see that little 0G indicator floating around there in the cabin. It's going to be an incredible 3 days for them, and I can't wait to see what they have to say about the experience, and I can't wait to see what the scientific experiments that they conduct on orbit are able to show us.
And with that successful
Really
launch,
incredible.
we are so close to 300,000 raised for St. Jude, which was the purpose of the Inspiration4 mission. There's a lot to love about this flight. In the mission, there's a lot of incredible historical things happening around it. But the main goal, the why, is to raise money for St. Jude's Children's Cancer Research Hospital. And almost 300,000 raised now, just during the live stream, across the different live streams. What's our number at now? Just in our stream, Jack?
$81,726 from all of you.
81,000 just from NASASpaceflight viewers. You are all incredible.
Incredible.
And you are just as inspiring to me as that gorgeous, breathtaking rocket that we just saw go up.
I can't say enough. Those who know me well know that I am very, very seldom rendered speechless. Words can truly not express how proud I am of our NASA spaceflight community. This was incredible. Thank you.
I know I'm kind of new around here, but you guys have really built something, huh?
Credit to our community.
That's what I was talking. I was talking to them, not you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But I mean, I'm echoing
it's all the
that,
viewers.
Seriously, credit to our community. I mean, on that one, you all are not just for this, but in every aspect of how we operate. You all are amazing. From all the conversations I see in our Discord every single day with everyone, to the questions you ask on streams, to the immense generosity today. We just love nerding out and showing this all to you, and I'm incredibly grateful that not only do you all continue to come back, but especially today. Just thank you. I'm babbling now because I don't know what to say. Thank you.
I'm right there with you. I'm just gonna babble myself for a minute here. We're now at 82,000, which is insane. 83. I just refreshed it. $83,000 raised from us. We've broken through cumulatively 302,000 now raised for St. Jude, and I'm just speechless. Thank you so much, everybody. You're all awesome.
And I do just want to pass along Thomas Berghardt. Also, he's having some technical issues getting back into comms, but from him to his outright sincere thank you to everyone too today. Wanted to make sure you knew that.
I'd also like to say that if you would like to become a more permanent member of this community, you are more than welcome to join us every day of the week here. We have 24/7 live streams going on. Just follow the channel and you can just come back and hang out with us. Also, where are Julia's pictures going to be going? I know she got some incredible photos of the launch.
Yes, she is in the process of editing them and will be getting them uploaded to her Twitter account.
What account is that so we can have that?
That is what I'm desperately looking over at her. Julia, what's your Twitter account? I think we can put the tag up on the screen, actually, for her. She is deep in editing right now.
Sorry, Chris. I'm on air now. I cannot put Julia's name on screen because I am busy buying a plushie.
That is
okay.
Michael Baylor, everyone, by the way.
That is Michael Baylor. Let me look up Julia's hash. Let me look up Julia's handle.
If you want to buy a plushie, somebody put the link in chat.
What are we talking? What plushie?
The 0G indicator can be bought online.
Oh, Hayley 0G indicator. Yes. Yes. Julia is at Julia_Bergeron on Twitter. At Julia_Bergeron. So that's where you're going to be able to see her. Yes, and at NASASpaceflight Actual will retweet her as well. Yes, of course.
And Chris, where can people find you?
I am at ChrisG_NSF on Twitter.
Jack?
I am the Jack Buyer on Twitter, and I still can barely even talk. But I'm not going to be posting any cool photos. That's all going to be Steven and Julia, and I'm excited to see what they come up with.
And Thomas is at TG Mets fan 98. Mets as in the New York Mets.
Sorry, I'm trying to catch up. If you want, you can go on the St. Jude website and buy the 0G indicator, and it supports St. Jude. So that's what I was doing.
Fantastic. I think something we'll all be doing later tonight, too. Yep.
Already did it. Thanks, Apple Pay. This feed not sponsored by Apple Pay.
Well,
Matt, we got your info on screen.
Yes.
Oh, yep, at Bad News Baron. I am far less interesting than these amazing people, though. I just have bad jokes. That's the bad news.
And an amazing voice, like a buttery, velvety voice.
I'm just trying to get that Aviation Gin sponsorship one of these days. They'll see my worth.
So here we are. We're 20 minutes after a successful liftoff. The crew is in orbit. What should our plan be here for our stream? Is it time to start? Is it time to start wrapping it up here?
We're at $85,471 raised from our stream.
Wow,
incredible.
309
Absolutely
total.
Incredible.
Do we do we have any views from the cupola, or when they open that up?
Well, so they'll be in orbital darkness for about the next 20 minutes or so, before they break back into orbital daylight. So I don't know how much of that we're going to get to see in the immediate future, or like in the immediate next few minutes. But that is something that they said was going to happen. But right now we have, even though he's not here, this is Doss's favorite view on launch day.
Thank you. I was just thinking that this is the view we always want to see on launch day, is an empty pad, right? That's what he always says.
Exactly. A nice empty pad and a vehicle in orbit is a good day at a space center. Yep. I guess we will go around. We can go around the horn and start wrapping up and everything for today. From my end, for all of you who joined us today, if you were here from the moment we went live just after 3:30. Out through liftoff, whenever you joined us today, thank you so much. I really can't say anything more than through this incredible community at NASA Spaceflight today was able to raise over $85,000 for pediatric cancer research in St. Jude. That is absolutely incredible. And
just 86. We just hit 86.
86. I mean, absolute thank you to everyone who donated to this amazing cause today and will continue to do so. This is what this is what it's all about. You know, science, helping others, getting different perspectives of the planet. This is all what the Inspiration4 mission is going to do and has set out to do, and they are 23 minutes into that mission, and I can't wait to see what the next 3 days hold for them. I know Thomas is not able to get back onto comms, but I will hand my headset to him so that he can sign off and say goodbye to you.
Hey guys, can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. A huge thank you to everyone who donated. I know overall, I think we were up near 300,000 total. And then from us alone, 85,000. That's, I'm sorry, 87,000. Sorry, my apologies.
86 right now.
86. Thank you, Jack. Just a huge thank you to everyone who donated. Obviously, that's what this mission's all about. This mission had a very special message of we can continue to explore space while continuing to solve problems here on Earth. And I think we want to continue spreading that as best we can. And just thank you all for participating in that. A big thank you to the entire NASA Spaceflight team joining here, Chris Gebhardt, Julia Bergeron, Stephen Marr, and then back in the studio, Jack, Matt, and Michael. A huge thank you to the entire team that made our coverage possible. And just thank you everyone for tuning in and participating in this very special moment. I think it'll be the first of many. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching.
Any closing thoughts for us as we end up the stream?
Jack, your name's up.
Oh, hey, it's me. I mean, first off, I'm speechless because even though I'm talking, the amount of money that you all have put together to help fight childhood cancer and help St. Jude, help families is astounding. If you had asked me before this stream how much we'd be able to raise, I would have never guessed anything close to $86,000. That's absolutely madness, and I want everybody to be happy about that. I'm of course extremely happy about that. In a lot of ways, this feels like a launch that's similarly historic to the first crewed launch. What was that, Demo 2? But in a lot of ways, this feels even better. This feels like an even better milestone. And Chris, I see you unmuting. I mean, feel free to chip in, but I just think this is a really great moment, and way to go everybody for making it about helping kids. And I'm sure a lot of us have experienced various illnesses in the family or situations that are similar, whether it was cancer or not. Growing up, my brother had Crohn's disease, and it had a profound effect on my family and on his life and on all of our lives. And to think of having an organization like St. Jude at that time, it would have been amazing. And I'm glad it exists, and I'm glad we've all been able to contribute so much. And in the course of having our normal nerdery and watching something in a crew fly into space, just way to go, everybody. Way to go. Thanks.
And I know that Julia was having some mic problems earlier. I don't know if she's able to sign off.
Well, let's see. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Hi. Why, hello. I'm along the same lines as Jack. I really don't have words. But I do have pictures, and I'll be sharing those pictures actually right now. This was an amazing experience to share with my NSF family and all of you online. And thank you all so much for how much you have done tonight. I always knew we had a great community, and you guys really, really showed it tonight. So thank you. And I look forward to watching them come home too.
And Michael has been our incredible operator today. Michael, thank you so very much.
No problem. Glad to be here. And I think I told my bosses that my goal, well, we were discussing before the launch what our fundraising goal should be, and I recommended 5K. And I'm looking right now at 88K. So good job, everyone.
And Dos Valdez is out there somewhere in the field doing DOS things. I don't know if he's around or not, but as always, a thank you to him. I'm one of your other hosts. I'm Matt, and it has been one of the greatest pleasures of my tiny little broadcasting career so far to be a part of this and to be among such an incredible community. I'm deeply, deeply inspired to what you all have done today by what SpaceX has done, and this whole program as a whole. Space is kind of amazing. And I think with that, we can go ahead and end up the broadcast. Where are we going after this?
Starbase Live?
Starbase Live. Our 24/7 stream. We hope to see you there. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining us.
Really quick, sorry, we just broke 89,000. Way to go, everybody.
And
we
who
gotta
knows,
do 90.
Maybe by the end of the day we'll get to 100. Who knows? I'm gonna put it out there. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.
We're at 89,400. Do we want to stick around for 90? Come on, everybody.
Yeah, we got to stick around for 90.
Come on.
We got to.
We're less than 500 away from 90. Let's just hit 90 and we'll call it a night. I don't want to be greedy here, but it just seems like we're so close.
You're right. We're just gonna sit here until you throw money at the screen.
Just dead air, nothing but dead air.
Yep. Just imagine it's a staring contest going on through voice.
I suspect that's not the best motivator. $90,194. All right, I'll shut up now. Thank you so much.
90,000 raised out of a total of 340 raised. A significant chunk of today's cumulative total raised through you guys. Thank you so much. We will see you.
It's insane. It's insane.
I mean,
you don't have to stop after the stream's over. You can always.
We could just threaten them and say we're not going to get off the air until we get to 100,000, and that'll be the torture.
I don't think we could hit 100,000. I honestly think that's kind of insane. I think 91 is kind of insane. I'm still speechless.
We went from 89 to 90 in 91 in like a minute. So at that rate, 5 minutes.
91.5. Staring contest.
All right. It's a game of chicken. I'll sit around.
I think we gotta do 100K.
Yeah, I think so too.
When are we ever else going to get 100K? Like this is never gonna happen again.
We gave you a decent sign off. We did the whole outro spiel. We said like and follow and subscribe and all those things. So at this point, our obligation as broadcasters to give you good quality content is done, and we're just gonna sit here and ask for money. That's what we're gonna do for St. Jude, not for us.
92,000. 92,000.
8 more. 8 more, and you don't have to hear us for the rest of the night.
I was gonna say we could answer questions. We could actually
let's take questions from the chat. Let's take some silly questions.
Let's see.
At NASASpaceflight is what you need to put in chat in order to ask us a question. Just at NASASpaceflight followed by your question, and that'll just highlight it for us.
Yeah, and remember, none of this 93,000 now is going to us or YouTube. YouTube's not even taking their 20 or 30% or whatever it is cut.
Nope.
All of this is going to St. Jude, and we are now at 93,000. Come on, let's hit 100K. That is an
all to the
absolutely
kids.
Bonkers number. That is a bonkers number. Come on, let's do it, everybody.
I have to tell you, after the last couple of years, I kind of wanted to leave this planet. Made me way more excited about space travel, and this has been very affirming to know that there's still some awesomeness down here on Earth to experience. Joel Abreu asks, how much were you expecting?
I think Michael said before the stream he suggested 5K as our goal, and I probably would have guessed somewhere around there between 5 and 10. I certainly wouldn't have guessed anything close to 94,000 now. 94,000. You guys are
absurd.
Yeah. In the best way, the best kind of absurd.
The rate is what's absurd.
95.
Okay, all right. Going too fast now.
Just every time I refresh it, it's just another huge chunk. You guys are amazing. 96.
It's like they have something to prove. It's like space nerds are the best nerds or something.
Oh, I think they are. After this, I already thought they were, but I think now there's not really any doubt.
We have a question here. Where can people watch the rest of the mission? I know that we're going to be doing probably periodic coverage over the next few days, but where's it going overall?
SpaceX's SpaceX's YouTube channel. They will have the live coverage of the mission as it unfolds. So that's where you should go.
And you should also come here periodically for more amazing talking about space fondue. Let's go, space nerds from Michelle Johnston, cheering you guys on. We have sum up today's launch in one word from Connor O'Kane.
Wow.
Wowie. The launch in one word.
Opulent.
Yeah. I'm asking the launch in one word. I'm asking the team who's not on comms. Thomas says inspiring.
99,000.
Just breathtaking. Are we really at 99? Are you kidding me?
We're at 99K. Wow.
99,905. I'm gonna refresh it again. It's gonna be over. 99,970. $101,013. You guys are the best.
God.
101,000. You guys are incredible. I can't. You all are incredible.
I'm so proud of you all.
$101,000 raised by the NASA spaceflight community out of a total of $366,000 for the entire campaign. I'd say you put a dent in it.
Yeah, that's a dent.
Yeah.
That's some dent.
Yeah, a fourth of basically the entire campaign today. Incredible.
102.
All right, well, let's just do some more silly questions then.
103.
Let's see. It's just gonna keep going.
It is. It's just gonna keep. You guys are the best.
Yeah, we're filtering at NASA spaceflight. We actually have a serious question here. What will the radiation environment be like for this mission versus ISS?
Yeah, so it's a little bit higher than what the radiation exposure is on the International Space Station. We don't know entirely. We know it's safe, but we don't know entirely. And that's actually part of what this mission is going to be investigating with some of the scientific experiments that they have on board, is exactly what the radiation environment inside of the Dragon capsule is at 575 kilometers altitude.
I'm having a lot of trouble concentrating on your answers with all the incredibleness happening.
Yeah, I can't.
I understand. Yeah.
It's just like, wait, what happened?
Wow. Let's see where we're at. I'm going to hit refresh. 104,000. You guys are mad. You guys are insane. Way to go. I'm so proud and I'm so blown away. I never thought we would reach this kind of number.
Someone just keep the stream on overnight and let people donate.
I mean, again, you don't have to, like, when we're done, you can go straight to St. Jude and donate. You can buy the zero gravity indicator, which the proceeds are go to St. Jude. All that. There's multiple ways. Once we're done here, you don't have to not donate. You totally can if you're waiting on a paycheck, whatever you have.
And if you are unable to contribute financially, I realize that not everybody can, and that is perfectly okay. Help spread the word. Share the link to the St. Jude website, just around. Share with your friends, colleagues, family what Inspiration4 was all about, what it did today, and why. And that is more than doing your part. So there's all sorts of different ways to support. But I think everybody should feel incredible about what you've done today. As a community, you've been ridiculous.
I can't
in a
agree
silly
more.
way, to a point where you're becoming a parody for yourselves how generous you are.
I can't. I could not possibly agree more. Just speechless. Just utterly speechless. Then there we go. There we go.
Can we replay the jellyfish footage? Do we have that? It just doesn't slow down.
Right. 105.
And I mentioned this earlier in the broadcast. I've had the pleasure of going over to St. Jude for a fundraising event before, the St. Jude Summit on Twitch, and it was the most inspiring experience. You can feel extremely confident as charities go. This is one of the most accountable, the most transparent, and they share all of their research, and they help create new ways to share their research, and getting it out into the world with clinics beyond just their hospital in Memphis, Tennessee, and all the care work they do as well. So there's the research side and there's the direct care side. And everything about it is just one of the truly bright stars of
humanity.
Yeah, I think that's. I couldn't find the word. You found it. It's really one of the best running services and achievements. You can feel good about what you've done.
106,000. Do we want to call it 106,000? We're about to.
No, we can get to 10. We can get to 110.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not done.
You guys are the best.
And it is international, by the way. They do accept patients internationally. They do share research internationally. It is not at all a local entity. And if you, I did notice that a few people throughout the stream were having problems donating. They wanted to contribute. They didn't know how because they couldn't do it through YouTube for whatever reason. You can go directly to the website and contribute through there. It won't contribute to our total, but it will go to the people who need it. And that's the thing that matters more. Plushie is sold out. They are out of the... I'm so sad. I wanted one.
I'm glad I got one when I did. Holy cow.
It's messing with the chat panel.
Oh, it looks like Steven just posted photos.
What do we got? Oh, so we have an ask for everybody, if you could. We have at next spaceflight, a tweet that if you could please share it, retweet it. If you use Twitter, if you could just hit that retweet button, that would be really fantastic for us. That is from Michael Baylor, showing the amount that you all raised, showing a total, which is, it's higher now, so this is already out of date, but 104,000. I don't know if we can get that link in chat for people to share. There we go. That's putting it out. I know chat's moving so fast it's hard to catch. But again, you just go to twitter.com/next, N-E-X-T, spaceflight, and the top link right there. Take you where you need to go. We try not to ask too much. But we will ask that. We'll get cheeky about it.
107,000.
Other than asking you to do 110,000. You know, there's that.
Absolutely amazing.
We'll just go for a full third. Second Trains, thank you very much for putting that out there in the chat.
Coming up on 108. Yep, 108. Wow. I mean, I continue to be astonished.
I heard Jack saying that if you do 115, he's going to wear a unicorn onesie onto the next NASA Spaceflight Live.
You. How dare you?
I heard him say it earlier.
At least you didn't say I'd shave my beard.
That's for a full third.
Michael, are we able to do a replay of the jellyfish action?
Yep, give me one moment.
All right, while we cajole you all, while we squeeze the sponge a little bit more and try and get to 110, we're going to watch some replays. If you have any questions, don't forget, at NASASpaceflight, throw it in chat.
I'll hop on that queue again there.
David says, I'm sacrificing school breakfast to watch this.
Outer Galactic asks, will I ever go to space? Magic 8 Ball says it's a possibility. Let's see. Where is the booster currently?
It's on the drone ship out in the Atlantic Ocean.
Let's see. When is the next commercial space flight for SpaceX?
That is a good question. We no longer have Thomas or Chris G. I think it'd be the Axiom missions, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that was the little thing in parentheses here. Commercial human space flight, Axiom.
I'm not exactly sure when that's going to be.
Do we or SpaceX have a Reddit? I'm sure that SpaceX has a subreddit. I don't think that NASA Spaceflight does.
I don't know.
We should. Let's see. Looking for more questions here.
109.
Man.
Okay, replay.
Look. You can see the sunlight hitting the plume. And then you can see the cold gas thrusters.
And that's what's causing that pulsing effect, right? It's the thrusters?
Exactly.
It's like fireworks. It's just gorgeous.
It's even cooler than fireworks. It's like, not to like one up the thing you said. It is.
No, but I mean,
it's like the coolest fireworks possible. It's space fireworks.
I'm amazed that the thrusters make such a large visible effect.
Right? Yeah, it's really quite pronounced. And then the effect of the thrusters interacting with the plume from the second stage as well is quite pronounced and not what I would have expected.
The way that's lit up like a spotlight shining directly at it, it's really... It has its own uplighting.
110,000, you guys. 110,000.
Oh my God.
I want to scream. I'm going to mute myself and scream.
He actually just muted. You can't see Discord right now, but he did just mute himself. I assume he's screaming. Oh yeah, big screams.
Yes. Just yes. Thank you, everybody. I think with that we can wrap it up for the day. 111.
No, we're going to 115 first.
No.
Then we'll wrap it up. It's a charity event. This is one of the most incredible historical flights that has ever gone on. If there's any time to milk it, it's going to be now.
Oh my goodness, you guys.
Chat doesn't seem to be done. I don't think they heard no bell. I haven't either.
$111, 316. Wow.
Get back to the questions here. Not a question, but Patrick says, "Can I just say this is an amazing feeling to be a small part of this, and how much money this amazing community in making this happen." Yeah, I think we're all feeling that way. It's rare to feel a very strong communal bond, especially lately. It seems like there's a whole lot more bad thrown around than good. So this has been an incredible experience. Something I really needed.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, this was cathartic. This felt really good. I mean, we're doing real, actual good. Dave Wolf says, "Want to see Jack in the unicorn onesie?" And with that, Matt, I am mad at you. How dare you?
What's the tower above the launch tower?
Lightning rod.
There you go.
They're asking that because they can't ask what the 4 towers are. Because there aren't 4 towers.
Here's one. Will the crew have a table to eat at? And if so, will it be called the orbital lunch table?
That's pretty great.
Instead of the launch table.
That's pretty great. A+.
Musical Wolves never disappoints.
A+.
When will the orbit be raised to 575 km?
That's a good question. Are they at that now? That's a Chris G question.
Another question here. There was, will there be live streaming from the crew? Almost assuredly. I imagine they're going to do sort of a question and answer session across the 3 days. They've got a lot of time up there. What do you think of Waz's new space junk company?
I'm interested. I'd like to see what they end up doing and what that whole thing is. I hope it is a, an actual company and not just like a paper machine or rocket or spacecraft or whatever. Like, I hope they're actually doing something, and I hope Waz is not just like a celebrity pull and like, hey, look, we got Waz, pay attention to us.
For those who don't know, Woz is Steve Wozniak, the co-founder of Apple.
Yeah, one of the co-founders, along with Steve Jobs and a third guy whose name I forget, who they bought out pretty quickly.
Why aren't there 4 towers?
Because they have the tall one on top of the fixed service structure there. At Slick 40, there's 4 towers because they don't have a giant fixed service structure. Let's see where we're at. I'm gonna refresh the number again. 113.69 and $1. $113,691.
Daniel Bells asks, what do we guys do if we get to 1/3? Well, Jake's shaving his beard. That was the whole. We had that conversation.
Oh man. Oh, it looks like Thomas needs to pack up. He's going to have to vacate the premises really quickly.
Where are we at right now?
We're at 113,831, y'all. If you want us to hit 15, you're going to have to do it now.
Before Thomas kicks us off air?
Yeah, donate now or forever hold your peace.
It is your last chance. Last call.
Thank you so much, everybody. I cannot express my profound gratitude with this community.
You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
I'm just so proud of you all. Go hang out in Starlink. Go hang out in Starbase Live, and we'll all have a little bit of mini after party there.
Yeah.
114.
Again, if you are new to NASA Spaceflight, again, we'd love to see you back here again. We hope that you've enjoyed your time. We hope that you find some like-minded space nerds out here that you can befriend.
114,237. I know Thomas needs to go. Just once again,
race against Thomas.
Thank you so much, everybody. Like, thank you is a garbage word compared to how I feel in my heart right now. Just thank you. Just absolutely, it's not sufficient. So, way to go. Like you said, Matt, everybody should be proud for what was accomplished today. Huge chunk of money raised for St. Jude and childhood cancer research. For civilians in space. Just a good time had by all. What were you going to say?
Even if you can't contribute financially, you were still a part of it. And you still helped out by being here, by helping even in terms of viewership, that helps exposure and things. So you absolutely can bask in this as much as anybody else.
We're less than 500 away from 115,000. Less than 300 away.
Then I can make dinner.
Oh, food. Food sounds delicious.
About 8 p.m. I've been here since 1.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you to Chris G, who was out in the field. Thank you to Thomas, who was out there. Julia, Steven, the 4 NASA spaceflight team members who were out in the field today. I think that does it, Matt. $114,951.
That doesn't do it yet.
I think next time I hit refresh here, it should Have updated. Nope, hasn't updated yet. Thomas really needs to go. Oh man.
I think so.
115,000. There you go.
Hey, there we go. Thank you so much, everybody.
I feel like I need a cowbell or something. Like I need a noisemaker of some kind.
Gotta have the cowbell. Thank you guys so very much for everything you've done today. We've been singing your praises for the last, this entire stream, really. So I think we've already gone through the sign-offs and everything. Jack and I'm Matt, have been hanging around here with you in this last little bit. We're blown away, and we're gonna Thomas has to go now, so we need to go too. I hope to see you back sometime.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
RCP chamber pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger, roll, Atlantic.
Water towers can fly! Yes!
Echo Delta nominal. Flight down, lead off. Bring in, let's lead off.
Yikes. You bet. Concur. We don't need any more of these.